Alrighty, welcome to episode 113 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Tesla have partnered with Emergency Safety Solutions to implement their Hazard Enhanced Location Protocol. The HELP program is intended to increase the visible and digital presence of broken down and disabled cars by utilising a modified hazard lights flash cadence as well as cloud-based digital communications to warn drivers of other vehicles of a broken down car ahead of them well before they have potentially come into view. Tesla's recent 2022.36 software revision has brought about CAN bus data changes that hint at the upper bounds of the upcoming Tesla Semi's battery storage capacity. Tesla has increased the battery storage variables bit counts from 11 to 16 bits and increased their resolution from 100 watt hours to 20 watt hours. This means the maximum usable full pack that Tesla's CAN bus can measure is now 1310.72 kilowatt hours, up from the previous 204.8 kilowatt hours. This change in size clearly implies that Tesla is harmonizing CAN bus packets across their vehicles, including the Tesla Semi, and that there are no immediate plans to produce vehicle battery packs larger than 1.3 megawatt hours. A Chinese news outlet has reported that Tesla Shanghai is now producing Model Ys with lengthened rear seat cushions and emergency manual releases for the rear doors. It is not currently known if and when these changes will appear in Australia. Given there are already a batch of Model Ys en route to Australia that were built in September, it is likely that these changes may not appear until early next year. Taiwanese electronics company Foxconn is apparently courting Tesla with ambitions of building electric vehicles for it. At a presentation during its annual Tech Day, Foxconn's chairman Liu Young Wei explained his company's ambitions to enter the car-making business and concluded by saying that, "I hope one day we can do Tesla cars for Tesla." Although Foxconn has built a formidable reputation in the field of contract production and assembly, Tesla has equally become known as being militantly vertically integrated, which is at odds with Foxconn's ambitions. Tesla's Q3 earnings call will be held at 5:30 a.m. on Thursday the 20th of October, Perth time. Company-compiled analyst consensus forecasts predict that Tesla will post non-GAAP earnings per share of $1 and GAAP EPS of 88 cents. Western Power have announced a trial commencing today and running up to the 31st of March 2023 that will allow homeowners of single-phase houses in parts of the southwest and wheatbelt regions of Western Australia to upgrade their main switch circuit breakers at their own expense from 32 amps to 63 amps. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was. Welcome everyone. If you are new, please feel free to say hello and tell us about your awesome car that you've either got or you've got on order. So if anyone would like to kick us off, that'd be awesome.
Yes, okay. My name's Alan. I bought a Poverty Pack Model 3, white with black interior, and we've had it since March. I've been following the club since then, and it's been fantastic, a game changer for us in terms of driving enjoyment. We've always bought practical cars, and this has been one of those ones where, wow, this is such a lovely vehicle to drive, and we've been promoting Teslas ever since, to the annoyance of some of our friends.
Fantastic. And welcome, Alan, and congratulations belatedly. I mean, it's been 6 months, so you've had a bit of time to get used to your car.
I have. I've been sort of, I'm not sure, how long can you be online where it's just viewing as opposed to stalking? That's, so we've been watching you almost every week on catch-up TV. So yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. And you've also been doing YouTube as well. So were you that shadow that I saw at the front of my bedroom the other day?
That's probably me. Yes, that's right.
Probably. There's no such thing as stalking us. Everyone is free to watch this as many times as they want to punish themselves. But thank you for doing so. It's awesome. And it's great to lurk too. There's nothing wrong with lurking.
Yeah, no, it's been and very informative. We've learned an awful lot about what the car can't do. And I've got some questions for you later on.
Oh, sorry. Awesome. Look forward to it. And yeah, thanks for starting us off, Alan. Is anyone else that's new that would like to say hello?
I'm new. Hello, can you hear me?
Sean.
Yeah,
Yes,
Sean.
welcome.
I'm up in Queensland, so it's past 9:30 here, so I'm about to go to bed.
You are where I was last week, Sean. So I know how you feel.
Yeah, I saw last week's episode, and I noticed you said that no one would recognise you up here, but I would have. I watched a couple of shows. I actually
Fantastic.
heard. I was listening to the Talking Tesla episode that you're on, so that's how I found this YouTube channel. And
Oh, fantastic.
been listening for a few weeks. I don't actually have a Tesla yet. I've had one on order since the 5th of March.
Or
a
Model 3.
Yeah, and then I had to go through obviously the COVID situation, then the line upgrade, and so I'm impatiently waiting. So I did actually get a text on Friday that said my delivery would be between November 9 and 23.
Have you looked for a VIN yet? Have you seen if your VIN's been
I
assigned?
went down to Tesla at Gold Coast on Saturday, and there is a VIN. I haven't looked for it myself, but
okay. What I'll do a little bit later is I will find the API link and I'll put it in the chat so you can actually look it up yourself.
oh, nice.
So you'll be able to get your VIN and well, look at it. I guess there's not much else you
Yeah,
can do with it,
be a nice
but at least
number.
you'll know that you've got your VIN. And that's, well, congratulations. That's awesome. So it's not too much longer to wait.
Not too much longer. It's been a long time. I've wanted a Tesla pretty much since the start, but I couldn't afford an S or an X. I did test drive an S back in 2017, June.
Yep.
Just for fun. And then I thought, well, I'll be one of the first to get a Model 3, but didn't quite work out too well. The wife buggered off and left me with a couple of kids and half a house. So I had to sort of reset financially, but I'm finally at the point where I can do it. So looking forward to it.
The good thing is that the actual total cost of ownership of a Tesla is actually a lot less than an ex partner. So that's the good news. And
Yes, it
it's a lot cheaper than the petrol that you'll be putting into your conventional car. I've
Well,
just
I had
put
it-
the
yeah. Sorry.
so I've just put the API URL, the website in the chat. So,
Thank you.
and this applies to anyone. I might actually put this in the, I was going to say the show notes, but in the comments in the, not comments, sorry, in the, whatever you call it, the description on this video for anyone else that is curious
underneath, yeah.
about the API. So this is for anyone that actually, what you got to do first is make sure whatever browser you're doing this on, log into your Tesla account first, and then you can just, once you've done that, open up this API in a browser. And
I was
you'll
trying
basically-
something similar, I think, and you look at the source code. Is that right?
Well, you can, but this is just a lot simpler.
Easier,
and it's
right.
actually from Tesla's website themselves. So
Right,
this
okay.
is one of Tesla's APIs.
Awesome.
So then, if you've only got the one car in order, it'll be that car, and it'll show VIN, and it'll actually have the VIN. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think financially it's going to be a lot. I worked out, and the reason I finally did it was even financing the car, I'll be a lot better off than the car. I owned a Touareg Volkswagen, and I do quite a few Ks, so I was
Yes.
spending probably $200 a week on diesel.
Yep.
So I figured this
that's
would be a
big
much
bucks.
better way to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, the pro tip is mostly charge it at home, because
Yeah.
that'll be your cheapest charging. Unless, I'm not sure if Woolworths have. To be honest, I spent some time on the Gold Coast and then on the opposite side, the Sunshine Coast, like near
Yeah.
Noosa.
That's it.
And I didn't really look for Type 2 chargers much. I did bring a Type 2 cable with me. I took it in my not carry on,
Yeah, I had
the
that.
normal luggage,
Yeah.
which weighed a fair bit. It was about 7 kilos. But I ended up not using it because I just used the supercharger, or superchargers, which is another little gripe that I'll mention a little bit later on about supercharger locations, or not the locations so much, it's how you get there. But anyway, but yeah, mostly charge at home, and that'll just be your 35 cents per kilowatt hour or whatever. Tesla superchargers, they currently charge 69 cents per unit.
So Harold
I've got
and
it.
Sean,
Yeah.
I was in Brisbane 3 weeks ago, and Woolies at Montague Markets in the CBD had 6 Type 2 bays.
Right.
And that was, and at one stage there were 4 different brands of EVs using them. So Montague markets, as long as you don't do more than 2 hours of parking, drive in, top up, drive out.
Cool. I've already got a wall connector in my garage, a Tesla one. So I've already had that set up on a separate circuit with a 32 amp breaker. So I'm all set up. I actually hired a Model 3 for a day on EV and charged that car overnight, and everything went well. So I'm sort of set. I just need the car now.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the Montague Markets here, and there are some of the 6 bays. Actually, you can see. Oh, they're EOS. Right. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bays.
Yes, and unfortunately one wasn't working, but hey, nothing's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
the EO ones are. Oh, sorry, go.
I go on, Paul.
Oh, I was just gonna say I was down in Freo on the weekend, and the EO ones there, you know, on the Esplanade were a bit shit. They were actually. I ended up plugging into the They had a 10 amp as a backup, but the other 4 were all crap. Like they had danger tape around them and that stuff. So I don't know what's going on there.
Hey,
That's
Paul, I
one-
went there too, and yeah, waste of time.
Yeah.
Using those chargers.
Yeah.
One little thing that can happen is on the EOS is if for whatever reason the circuit breaker pops while you're charging your car, the EO will grab onto the cable, onto this end of the cable. Obviously, the car
Ooh.
can release because you can just use your
Yeah.
phone app or other means. But I can't really zoom in, but there's a little, you see this little silver thing or little sort of round circular thing. There's actually a square grub screw. So what you do is, and it's hopefully finger tight. If it's not, you might have to try and use a key or something to try and help you sort of unscrew it. And basically, once you unscrew it, there's a little bit of monofilament, like fishing line, attached to it. And then what you do is you gently but persuasively pull on it, and that will then unlatch the charge, your cable from the charger, even though
Okay,
it's
cool.
dead. So that's like a manual release, and then what you do is you just put the filament back in, and then finger tighten the grub screw back onto the body of the EOS.
Cool. That's a
So,
good tip.
little pro tip there. I personally have been stuck a couple of times. Well, yeah, and that's what you do. So
I was
yeah,
gonna
so
ask-
Sean,
sorry.
there are quite a few
People?
locations that have totally free charging, which you can obviously opportunistically take advantage of. Certainly
I
for
was-
shopping anyway.
I was going to ask you about one of my questions actually was about cables and what I should have or what I need. I've got a wall charger, as a wall connector set up already at home, which obviously just plugs straight into the car. I was told by Tesla, because I ordered the car on the 5th of March, that I should get I forget what they call, but the cables that used to come with the car. but now don't.
UMC. Yep, portable cable, portable charger, the universal mobile connector. You will get that. If it's not in your car, tell them and make sure they give you one.
Right.
Whether it's, in fact, they should really give it to you there and then, because technically, sorry, did you say you've actually got a HPWC as well?
Now, is that the Tesla wall connector?
Yes.
Yes, I've
High
had
power
that
wall
installed
connector.
in my garage already.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's ready to go and it's operational. Tested
Fantastic.
it on a car that I hired for a day.
Sean, if you can't find or see the UMC, the Universal Mobile Connector, like Harold said, just have a look in the sub boot, in the well. So sometimes it's in there or even in the front boot. But if it's not in any of those 3 places, definitely ask for one, because, if you ordered your Model 3 in March, then in March, the UMCs came with the car.
Yeah.
So they no longer come with the cars if you order them now, but because you ordered it back in March, it will be part of your car.
Oh, that's awesome.
the other
Do I need anything else though? Will that cover me for most places where I'd be charging, or are there other things I need?
No, so that's obviously charging at home. So
Right.
the other
That's the
thing you
plug
can
into a
get
normal wall
is,
socket.
yep, the other thing you can get is a Type 2 to Type 2 cable.
Yep.
And Tesla on their website, which seems to be in stock at the moment, have a 7.5 meter cable for $350.
Right.
So now that's the most likely uh, accessory that you'll actually make use of, particularly if you go to places like Steve said, like the Montague markets, or other Type 2 outlets where it's free. Bearing in mind, though, you've in a sense prepaid $350 of free charging. So that's something to be aware of. If it's something you think you will very rarely use, then maybe don't be in a rush to buy it necessarily.
Yeah.
But of all the things you could buy, that would be the most likely to
one.
be useful. Yeah.
I'm planning to go on a bit of a trip up to not too far, but to Harvey Bay just after Christmas.
Yep.
For a few days and give it a bit of a test, maybe a longer run. So
So
is
you're
that something that
familiar
I would need?
with? Yep. Are you familiar with PlugShare?
I know what it is, but not
Okay,
obviously
so
not experienced any of this yet.
yep, cool. So if you're doing that, then the simplest thing without any adapters whatsoever is to have filters. So you have Tesla Fast, which is superchargers, CCS, which is the non-Tesla version of the fast DC chargers, and also Tesla, which are the destination chargers. They're the high power wall connectors, which is the same thing as you've got at home. And then
Right.
I think you were saying Harvey Bay, so excuse my ignorance.
It's north. Go further north than Sunshine Coast.
Is it further than Rockhampton, or is
No.
it?
No, it's not. See where the island is, Fraser Island. It's just to the left.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, Harvey Bay. Okay, so for instance, you've got sorry, Gympie is you've got a supercharger at Gympie.
Mm-hmm.
So of course that's just plug in and forget.
Maybe just top up on the way up and top up on the way back or something.
Yeah. So at the Gympie supercharger, the great thing is once you've set up your Tesla account, which you probably already have, and your billing
I do.
method, then you just plug in. Now this one's in the underground car park. This one's not too hard to find because at the Gympie shops, at the supermarket, it's not a very large underground car park. Now,
Harold,
if
can
you,
I just add on
Yes,
the Gympie
Steve.
Supercharger? When I went up there, I went to Agnes Waters and 1770 when I was over in Brisbane. The supercharger was actually the car wanted to go left and be awkward. So when you go into the car park, you turn right and right again. It's a short drive. Don't drive all the way around the under park looking for it. You just go right, not left.
Okay.
Now, one place, and I'm going to start my little rant. Oh, actually, before I do, is there anyone else that's new that would please like to say hello? Apologies if you have wanted to do that. No, totally cool, Sean. Because
That's all right.
don't forget, you're actually joining us from the future because you're 2 hours ahead of us.
True.
So it's all good. So we'll try and get to you very quickly. But yeah, if there's anyone else that's new, please do say hello if you'd like to. Or not. It's all good. Okay, so I'll turn my rant hat back on. If we have a little look at the Sunshine Coast Supercharger, and this is near Maroochydore, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yes. I don't even know where to start with this. Basically, you sort of think, oh well, it's just in a underground car park. It's no problem. The issue is, don't know if I can do this very quickly, is when you zoom in, there are actually there's a car park under here, and there's another car park under here, and there's basically no indication of where it is. In fact, this pin isn't correct. And basically you can drive for like 20 minutes driving around here and not find it, and it's actually under here. So you got to go in here and
Right, okay,
turn
that's good
right,
tip.
and it's just under here, because I think there's a cafe. What's the name does describe this. PlugShare does say it's at ground level in undercover car park next to Cafe 63. Now the point is, if you've never been to this location, which I had never been, I didn't know where Cafe 63 was, but it is actually just here. In fact, that little icon there is probably Cafe 63. But
yeah, it says it.
Sadly, Tesla once the navigation, it actually stopped at this roundabout right here, and then that was the end of its navigation effort. And then of course, once it thinks you're at the location, it removes the pin as well when you navigate to it. So then I originally went to this car park and looked around and couldn't find it. I actually found someone and asked them, and they said, "Oh no, it's the other car park." So that's the Sunshine Coast, and then or Maroochydore, and then to make matters worse, I then also went to a supercharger in Indooroopilly. So Indooroopilly is another good spot in Brisbane.
In Brisbane, yeah.
And I thought, yeah, no worries. How hard can it be? So I just navigated there. And again, let me just zoom into this. This is not a small shopping centre, and actually this is the main road that you go into, and there's an entrance around about here, and there's also an entrance around about here. And again, Tesla tells you nothing. The pin sort of shows somewhere around about there, and there's no other further instructions. So if you look at some of these comments, there was someone that said some signage would be nice, Tesla. And if you actually go to a few more, I think lower down, a little tricky to find. Great once in 10 bays, and we're the only ones here. That was kind of one of the kindest comments. You had there was someone that said, because you have to actually, would be nice to have clear instructions to find the charger. We were not from around here. The trolley guy was able to direct us to the other side of the car park. Here we go. Took a long time to find the car park, the chargers are in. There are 2 yellow P1 row Gs for some reason. So the reason why that's there is actually says you go to level P1, which is yellow row G. Now, again, Tesla's navigation has 0 instructions on how to do this. It has once it basically got me to about this intersection, it just gave up and said, well, you're here, so that's the end of it. As it turns out, there are 2 separate car parks, both called level P1. There's a P1 and a P2, and they both have row Gs, but one is around about here, underground or under the building, and one is here. If you, which I did, went into this building first, you've just got no chance. And of course, these things are packed full of cars. And so you can't get clear lines of sight across the car park to see where these stalls are. So unfortunately, as a classic tourist, I found it nothing but pain and suffering, and quite stressful, because I had to catch a plane that afternoon and return the car. And yeah, I was really bemoaning the fact that there's no real instructions. So anyway, rant over. But yeah, so Sean, I mean, the good news is, and this is the same thing as for people in Perth, when they go to the Karrinyup supercharger for the very first time, if you're unfortunate enough to go to the opposite end because you think that might be where it is, well, good luck with that, because they're not even actually connected, the car parks. So obviously the first time you look for it, it might be difficult, but after then you're a local and you'll know. But anyway.
I'm assuming really my plan is to plug it in every night.
Yep.
Leave home with a full, I was going to say
Charge.
tank, but battery.
Yep. Yes.
Every morning, and you know, I'm doing about 150 or so Ks a day, so I'm going to have heaps every day. It's just when I go for a little bit of a travel, I suppose I need to
Is
use
yours a
other charge.
standard? Is yours a standard range?
Standard
Model
range.
3?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
cool.
I've got
So
a grey one with the 19-inch wheels, but other than that, yeah, standard rear wheel drive.
awesome. So you can set your state of charge to 100% all day,
100
every
now.
day.
Yep.
Absolutely 100%. If you've got a new standard range Model 3,
Yep.
and at the moment, any standard range Y, well, they're all standard range, they have the lithium iron phosphate batteries, and you can charge them to 100% all day, every day. In fact, we actually had a meeting with Tesla the other day, and I actually asked that specific question. Is it okay to charge every day at 100%? And the clear, unequivocal answer was yes.
Yes, I've heard
So-
you answer that question a couple of times in the last few weeks or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was great news.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, if you just charge up at home, it takes you 10 seconds to charge. It takes 5 seconds to plug in and 5 seconds to unplug. Oh, by the way, you'll see on your high power wall connector and any Tesla charger, whether it's the wall connector, your mobile connector, which is the one in your boot, or a supercharger, there is a little button on the top of the. Oh, here it is. Oops. There's a little button on the top of the handle, and when you press that, that will, provided your car is unlocked, and it would be unlocked if your phone is near it, it will then open the charge port door for you, so you don't need to use a phone app or jump into your car and use the screen to open the charge port door. And when you've either finished charging or you want to finish charging, you just press and hold that button again, and it will stop charging and unlatch the charge port door so you can remove it. And that applies to whether it's your mobile charger, your wall charger, or a supercharger. The other thing is when you've taken the connector out and the charge port flap is open, don't close it manually. Just let it time out and close itself.
Break it?
I don't know if you really break it per se, but you may give it a bit of excessive wear because you're sort of going against the mechanism. Although if you forget and you do it inadvertently, it's perfectly fine. Just don't make a habit of it. Just let it time out, and it might take 5, 10 seconds, 15 seconds at the most for it to automatically close.
Okay, will do. That little button tricked me. I thought it would be like just a touch thing, but you've got to actually push it in like a button.
Yes, it's actually that's actually a bit of polycarbonate or Lexan over a physical button. And unfortunately, what you'll notice is if you go to superchargers, you'll see like cracking around here where a lot of people have pressed on it.
Yeah, I couldn't work out why I couldn't get it to work, and then I suddenly worked out. Oh, hang on. There's a button under there.
Yeah, a little bit harder. Yeah, that's right. But that's a great pro tip that many people, even who were long-term Tesla owners, weren't aware of. It's just because Tesla don't put anything obvious. They don't sort of say open or unlock or anything. It's a bit subtle. But I mean, that's what programs like this is for, is to impart that knowledge so that, you learn something new every day.
Hey, Harold,
Pete.
what I was thinking is, remember when the Carrinup supercharger opened and you and I did those videos showing people how to find it? And a lot of people commented and said that was really handy. I was just thinking it'd be great if PlugShare had the ability to upload videos. And then, in a situation like that one, you could just upload the footage from your front camera or what have you, or walk it like we did. But yeah.
In fact, I kicked myself. I mean, because I was kind of a tourist, I guess I just didn't apply myself hard enough. But that's something I was actually thinking of, is the ideal bit would be to use the front dash cam footage. But in order to do that, I would have had to have repeated the process, and I just didn't have time. But you're dead right, Pete. But look, I'd appeal to Tesla directly to say, why can't we have precision internal guidance straight to the supercharger stalls in multi-story car parks? So so for example, I was at
Waters.
the one in the US in California, Daly City, which is a suburb outside of Los Angeles, and I was looking. I could see where the pin was on, and there was this car park. It was a multi-story car park, and I'm looking around to try and see where these superchargers possibly are, and I couldn't find them. So then I thought, well, I'll go to the very top of the roof of this building, of this multi-story car park, to have a good look around to make sure it's got to be somewhere. And when I got to the very top of the roof, there they were on the roof, but there was no guidance, and because I didn't have the satellite image on, there was no guidance to what to do. So I really hope that one day Tesla will give precision local guidance, bearing in mind that, yes, there might not be GPS, but the car knows you're going to a supercharger. Once you get to the entrance of a building, they should then have a setup whereby it uses its inertial guidance unit, which it has got, and the pulse counts for the wheel rotations and all that sort of stuff, to give you turn-by-turn instructions. Take the right-hand lane, go through the boom gate, take the next left, next right, whatever, and get you straight to where you need to be, so you don't have to stress out. And
Absolutely.
by definition, superchargers are intended for people on road trips, not necessarily at all for locals. So by definition, you're often a stranger when you get to a supercharger.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, your idea, I have seen people put links to YouTube videos, but unfortunately sometimes they add a little bit of their own personality to some of those videos, and they end up fairly quickly getting deleted. So they just put in a URL, to a YouTube video.
Yeah, that's another, yeah.
It's not a bad alternative, but my only recommendation is for anyone that does it to leave their personality at the cutting room floor, because I've seen sort of some people over East make the video about themselves more than actually getting to where you have to be. But you're right, PlugShare would be useful if they had a video section, or Tesla, just do precision guidance, please, because otherwise it's hard.
Or better signage, but the obvious one is, the software fix. The cheapest,
Yes.
most effective.
Yep, just precision guidance. It's not hard. You can do all sorts of other things. Just guide people to where they need to be.
Elon should hear this tomorrow, so I'm sure it'll happen soon.
He gave me a call a bit earlier. I mean, Bill and I are besties, and yeah, he's going to watch it a bit later. He's just got a few other things to do. Actually, one of the things he has to do, which is a very tortuous segue, but is he does use his plate a lot, and what he's actually done to it, and apologies, I just got to scroll to the end of my screen, is, here we go. He has, once I maximize this screen, he has introduced Starlink Aviation. So what he's actually done, and this is actually his plane right here, because of course you do it on your own aeroplane, because before you start drilling holes in someone else's. But what he's basically done is mounted the enterprise version of the Starlink terminal to his own aeroplane, and he told me earlier that he was just continuing to play with it, just checking that it was all right.
Is that the same plane as you've got, Harold? That one?
Hang on. Where is my toy plane collection? Yes. Yeah. The airplane I have is the same scale as this car. That's what I've got. But yeah, so this is Starlink basically offering it to all airlines, and you can actually reserve now. It's very reasonable. I think the costs are quite reasonable too.
Are you being sarcastic at the moment, Harold? Or
No, not at all. You could never accuse me of being sarcastic. Here we go, FAQs. So aviation. it's basically available everywhere, global, and you've got to install it yourself. And it's the great thing is you get up to 350 megabits per second. There was a cost. How do I
Sure.
order? Oh yes, but you just need a initial down payment of $5,000, and then they'll reach out to you to let you know, when you can get it in mid 2023. And the aircraft that are supported, all of these, I think Elon's is the G650, or is it the G? I think it's the G650, and there are quite a few other airplanes as well. And if you've actually got your own, A380 or something like that, then you can just contact Starlink on their email address to
They got
get
Alan
the.
doing.
Yes, yeah. Well, look, Alan. Alan also is a fan of our program, and Alan just to get STC approval, just email Starlink. Now, actually, it's funny, Alex, that you say that because I could see into the future, and I didn't even know this at the time, but I'm going to claim it.
I can check it for you if you want. I'm in the future.
Well, I took this image from the future, which was I took it of a 737-800 series from the window of a 737-800 that I was sitting in, and this is actually the internet that Qantas has, complimentary Wi-Fi that Qantas has for free. But what you can see is it's actually quite a large radome compared to like the window size. Bearing in mind that these windows are probably 30 centimeters tall at least, if not more. So you've actually got a pretty big lump hanging off the top of your aeroplane.
Yeah, and there I was thinking that the Starlink one wasn't very aerodynamic, but compared to that, it's
Yeah, so I'm just going to get the Starlink one, and oops, I'll just go back, and the Starlink is much slimmer,
Wow.
much slimmer.
Hmm.
So interestingly, I don't know why they put it in that might
that,
just be
that
the
orientation.
angle.
Why not?
Yeah, that orientation.
Yeah.
Although I actually think, to be fair, it's more square than rectangular, and it might just be a
Okay.
because
Yeah,
of
it
the
looked
angle of the photo.
yeah.
Because notice how it's got this little aerodynamic thingy there. I think I'm not exactly sure what that is, but that is this bit here, and you can see from this angle it looks more square,
Yeah.
which it probably is. But
So does that mean, Harold, that aircraft can be tracked using Starlink as well? Would that be
yes, well, in
something?
fact, aircraft already are. They do use
Especially Elon's jets.
special. No, they use special satellites. You know, the MH
370.
370 that went missing.
Yeah.
It had Inmarsat pings, which is just like low data rate telemetry, limited telemetry, but that's very low baud rate and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so it's customary these days for aeroplanes to have worldwide coverage via satellite anyway. But what Starlink does is provides 350 megabits per second, which is just another level of speed and efficiency. And
And Harold, presumably the frequency or the way it works is it's not going to interfere with any comms, any airplane comms.
no, that's right. Well, in fact, that's this. Remember in the dark old days where you used to have to put. Well, you absolutely had to put your phone in. You had to turn your phone off if it had any transmitter on it. And flight mode used to be no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no nothing. The phone had to go dead, basically. Well, now, yes, they might turn off the GSM network, but Wi-Fi is blaring. And I mean, try this for an experiment next time you're on an aeroplane. Just have a look at connecting to a Bluetooth device, and you just look at the reams and reams of Bluetooth devices that are on the aeroplane, because everyone's phone's got Bluetooth, and their watches and their headphones and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, a lot of that now's gone, Pete. That's the aeroplanes have been hardened up, or they've realised that they're not as vulnerable as they ever thought they were.
I've
But anyway.
always thought that, like, if my mobile phone can take down your aeroplane, you need to fix your aeroplane.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
And it's sort of the irony of actually a lot of electronic devices have to deal with what's called electromagnetic EMC, electromagnetic compatibility, and they have to emit very little spurious emissions. And the funny thing is, of course,
masks, Harold?
everyone has one of these in their pockets, and these deliberately blare out several watts of energy right next to your pacemaker. And you think, well, again, Pete, like you said, you've got to. Oh, sorry, Richard, like you said, you've basically got to make sure that whatever you're building is up to the interference that it's going to experience.
I thought mobiles were limited to 1/4 of a watt output.
But that's on average. It's not the peak.
Okay.
There's
Obviously,
EIR,
UHF is up to 5, but that's a bit different.
but the actual instantaneous data bits is actually several watts. But because it's thinly time sliced, multiplexed,
Yes.
the average EIRP, effective irradiated power, effective incident radiated power, averaged quasi peak. So it's like the RMS is sort of okay. It's low, which means if it's next to your brain cell, it won't heat it up too much. But the actual peak little bits are quite strong. And in fact, in 5G, they're even stronger, but a lot shorter because they're all multiplexed on very small cells. But anyway, sorry, Jared, you said masks. No, the masks are all gone as a requirement for domestic travel. So, and the airport, no one was wearing a mask. Incidentally, my wife was, because she's a practice manager for a medical specialists. But no, and the planes were chockers both ways. 737s absolutely so chockers that they actually asked people to book to hand over some of their carry-on so it could be put into the hold, because there wasn't enough overhead locker space for all the carry-on luggage. But anyway,
I found that the info you wanted for the costs for the Starlink aviation. So the kit is 150,000 US.
Very reasonable.
And the internet subscription is 12,500 to 25,000 per month. US.
Cool. Now,
Whoa.
actually,
That's
Damon,
on Tasmanian.
without divulging anything that might be commercially sensitive information, if I was to have a ship and were to go to, I don't know, Inmarsat or someone like that to get internet on the high seas, what would that roughly cost me if I was interested in doing something like that without divulging anything that's sensitive?
I think you got the drinks package, Harold.
Currently,
You get it cheaper.
internet plans around 30,000 a month.
There you go.
For seagoing vessels.
And the hardware I think's quite expensive too, because
So
you've got radomes.
Yeah, and they're quite that's right. Yeah. So the maritime Starlink is so much cheaper, affordable, much better service. We actually can't wait to get it out in the vessel that I work on. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, speaking of that, there is actually a coverage map which does show. Unfortunately, it's a document, so I can zoom in. But obviously, it doesn't go much further north at this stage because there aren't sufficient ground stations. But it's just doing the territorial waters effectively at the moment. But before too long, the end of this year, all of this area, so in the Southern Ocean, will be covered, and then early next year,
within 6 months, pretty much. 6 months.
Everything in 6 months. Yeah. Yep. Dead right. So, so there you go. But yeah, so 25,000. Alex, sorry, it wasn't Alex, it was Paul. $25,000 for the aeroplanes is actually, I know for us, mere, $120 a month internet users, that sounds like a lot of money, but for an aeroplane or something commercial, it's kind of small beer, really.
So I think
What it
Starlink
is.
Maritime saying it was at 5,000 for Starlink Maritime.
Yes, 5,000 a
compared to
month.
30,000 for traditional internet.
And vastly quicker.
Oh yeah.
350 megabits per second.
This is 30,000 for less than 1 megabit and 1 second latency.
Yep, because you're using geostationary satellites. Yep. And you're going to have something between 20 and, say, 70 millisecond ping on Starlink worldwide.
1 megabit nowadays is horrendous when you have 100 people trying to use it all at the same time.
Yeah. Yep. So there you go. So go Starlink. But yes, that's why Elon Musk has been a bit busy. So yeah, he won't be watching this show till a bit later on. But it's all good. Alrighty, has anyone else got any other questions or comments or anything at this stage?
Yeah, Harold.
Steve.
I understand that next month the first WAEV charger is supposed to be commissioned. Is that true? No?
Where did you hear that?
I found it when I was looking on the internet, just wondering how things were going when I was stuck in Kaiguna, but that's another story I'll segue to soon.
Well, you've already teased us, but
another Kaiguna story.
So another Kaiguna story. That's what the world needs. More Kaiguna stories.
George got stuck there today.
Actually, before we do go on, so as to make sure no one gets sued, we'll just be mindful that individual results may vary, and at no stage does anyone owe us a charge, because none of these charges have got guaranteed levels of service. No, not to you, Damo. I'm just saying because I don't want anyone to get their nose out of joint, which they may do, particularly if we don't describe the whole story of Kaiguna and any other location for that matter. And now I got distracted. Oh yeah, sorry. So Steve, you were saying about Synergy EV Highway, and what I always refer to, which is not always the most up-to-date source, is Synergy's website, and at the bottom it says when are they being installed, and all it says is late 2022. So what did you hear, Steve?
No, I was on, I don't recall exactly, it was a little while ago, but I was certainly internet searching, and the inference was that next month, November, was nominated. So maybe the website was out of date in that they were forecasting 6 months into the future as opposed to next month, which is why I was reading it. So I think
it was a Facebook post by one of the politicians. It was either the Premier or Minister Johnston.
Probably
it was
Johnston.
Either Facebook or Twitter. And I think
there were three quotes that I seem to recall. Three politicians all having their say.
Yes, and there's no way that I'm talking out of place to say that I think what the politician said was not what was actually right. Like I think you're right. I think they said first one being commissioned, and I mean there's no sign anywhere of any works barely commencing at all, let alone commissioning.
Harold, you're dashing my optimism now.
No. There is absolute reason to be optimistic, because the fact is that the entire network, notwithstanding what Peter's been told by someone, and Pete can describe this himself in a moment, but if we take everything except for the Nullarbor charges, the entire network is due to be completed no later than January or February 2024, which is less than 18 months' time.
I'm assuming there'll be a progressive rollout too. They're not going to suddenly turn them all on at once.
Yes, absolutely. So it it won't be, nothing happens until the last one gets turned on and then it gets turned on. It'll just be a progressive installation and commissioning and operation of units over time. Oh, sorry, I just got a text from Pete. I just wanted to make sure that Pete wasn't telling me to shut up. Sorry. Which he wasn't, by the way. So in less than 18 months, the entire system, except possibly for the Nullarbor ones, will be turned on. And I might as well let Pete say it himself what he was told, whether that was official or not. Well, I think it was actually, Pete, so you can just tell us all if you like.
Yeah, no, it was meant to be, for the public. Mark McGowan makes himself available once a month on one of the radio stations. So I rang him and asked him.
720.
Correct. Yep.
With Nadia Mitsopoulos.
That's right, with Nadia. And I asked him when the network was going to be finished because according to the Synergy website, it was supposed to be all finished by January of 2024. But then on, I think, Bill Johnson's press release, it said by the end of 2024. No, it said by 2024. So Synergy said by January 2024, and the website, the minister's website said by 2024. So I wanted the clarification. So he didn't know, but one of his staffers rang me back, and he said that apart from the 4 stations that were added on later, going to South Australia, so basically Kaiguna, Harold, you'll know them off by heart.
Caledonia, Kaiguna, Majura Pass, and Eucla.
Eucla, that's it. So apart from those 4, it should all be finished by early 2024, and those 4 stations will be, or charges will be finished by the end of 2024. Now, what was a little bit unclear or open to interpretation is he said all the 22 or all the 23, there was some number. He called me at a really bad time. I was in a seminar and I was trying to work out who was calling me. But yeah, he said all the 20-something charges will be finished by early 2024. And I'm thinking, well, there's about 40 sites if you include Horizon. So I'm thinking it must have been referencing just the Swiss, just the Synergy portion of the network. So it'd be good to know about the Horizon sites, but might have to flick him an email and see if we can get further clarification.
Yeah, because as a matter of fact, these Nullarbor sites are not part of the Swiss. As you can see, they're not coloured. They're in the orange zone. So they are part of the Horizon network.
Yeah.
But excuse me. But yeah, it might be useful just to get a clarification. Personally, I think it's a little bit disappointing, perhaps, that the Nullarbor charges might not be done at exactly the same time, since they're really just a cookie cutter rinse and repeat of many other Horizon Power off-grid sites. It's just a matter of procuring an extra 4 chargers and an extra 4 sets of solar panels and battery backup and whatever they're going to use. But hey, I guess to their credit, it was added late. Well, it was added in addition to the original concept plan. So, we did get something extra, which was great. So we'll forgive them the Nullarbor bit. And speaking of which, we might just... Sorry, was it you, Steve? You were going to talk about the Nullarbor?
Yeah, it's just the Kaiguna one has been problematic.
Yeah. So maybe we might just go on pause for a sec, because let's just go on pause for a sec. Apologies for everyone in YouTube land, but we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. of course, for us, it was an hour. For you guys, it was just a few milliseconds. So, Steve, you're saying at Madura Pass, you had something interesting at the Delta charger.
On the way back, connected up, and there was no problems with that particular device. However, the generator overheated, which took out the entire electrical supply for everything, including the restaurant, food prep, etc. There was about a 30 or 40 minutes delay whilst they started the lower powered backup generator. You got all the people queuing for using the pumps. They want their diesel and other things. And I'm just sitting there going, it's possible. It happened 5 minutes after we started charging. But
Yeah,
as the guy said, it was
20 kilowatts.
overheating. It was due to be replaced. So it should have been replaced by now with a newer generator. And being on the backup, it kept going. And that's the important thing. We got as much as we wanted from them and then zoomed off.
Yeah, right. That's the other thing too, is it's going to be great when we actually have proper purpose-built charging systems, whether that's off-grid or on-grid. I mean, obviously in this case it's off-grid, but Madura Pass will be a place where there'll be a Horizon Power EV highway fast DC charger.
But there's plenty of room for it.
Yeah, absolutely. But the good thing is you won't have to put up with that. So I went to, what was that place that you went to past Balladone? Sorry.
Heading east or west?
No, north.
Oh, okay.
North of Geraldton. Not Billabong. Woomerall.
No, okay.
Woomerall. I went to Woomerall Roadhouse, and their main generator had blown up, so they were on their spare one, which is smaller size. And as soon as I plugged in, it just bogged down and disconnected. Well, my thing stopped charging, so I couldn't charge there. And then at Portsmouth Caravan Park, which is near Broome, Pete managed to black that out inadvertently. And it was just a matter of bad timing. It was just that just when he plugged in, it was sort of like 5 o'clock-ish or dinner time, where you can imagine everyone...
it was about 7:30, 8 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah, so everyone putting their hot plates on in their caravans, air conditioners are running, TVs are on, everything's on. But again, that was because they weren't running the main generator. They were running the smaller, undersized one. So a lot of these places, they're sort of on the verge of their generators are always breaking down because they're running 24/7 and they're on variable loads. And one of the worst things you can do with a big generator is run it lightly overnight on a light load because the bores glaze and it's just not mechanically good for it. So a lot of the stuff with car charging, or in any case, the issue is you're sort of cobbling together what's already there and making best use of it. Whereas the best thing to do is have purpose-built equipment.
Yep, exactly. Now, while I've got the floor, when you do a bug report through voice command, what actually happens? Because I was driving along and I've had a few phantom braking incidents. And so I read somewhere, you can use voice command and do bug report. So I said, okay, bug report. And it said, report. And that was it. I was expecting that it was going to go to a human who might call back and actually get some information. I was expecting that there might be the telemetry data would be sent off somewhere and say what the...
So what it normally does when it's working properly is when you go bug report, it'll say on the screen bug report, and then you speak to it, and it'll take note of what you just said, and it will repeat it to you. Problem is, I used to diligently do things like bug report, the speed limit should be 60 kilometers per hour instead of 80 because, it got the wrong speed limit. And then sometimes it would mangle it and it would send something just gobbledygook. And for a while I thought Tesla actually reads all these bug reports. From what I've heard, all it is mainly used for is it sets a timestamp, which makes it easier for Tesla to find if you're reporting some fault, such as I got a high speed wobble or something happened to the car, if you do a bug report, that timestamp is easier for Tesla to find. But I don't think they actually sit there sifting through bug reports per se. So in other words, we're probably wasting our time if we're telling Tesla things that we think is important that they may never read.
Yeah, okay. Because the incident that I had was, and it repeated a couple of times, but nullable, okay? Heading towards Baladonia, it's on the long straight, dead straight, level, no vehicles ahead of me, no vehicles behind me, auto steer, and traveling on 110, and then it just went to 60.
Speed limit or the car?
The car speed limit was not changed. There was no signs, even.
No, but was the indicated speed limit? Did that speed limit sign on the dash change?
Oh yes, the indicated one changed to 60, so the whole thing dropped down to 60 as I'm trying to drive along.
Yes. Yep.
It's like, what the hell?
Because there's a glitch in the mapping in the GPS coordinate or the speed. The default speed limit is mapped onto the maps, on the vector maps that the car stores, and there are glitches. So when Pete and I
that would
say
be a bug report I was trying to make.
Yeah. Yep.
It's built into the Google Maps, and it even happens on the freeway. There's a couple of sections that are 40.
Yes.
And on the way to Esperance, you certainly cop 40 on several sections going to Esperance. The car slows down, but it's inbuilt in Google Maps. I'm sure that's the issue.
Yes. Yeah. And there's one there's a couple, or one or two between, I think, Fitzroy Crossing and Broome. And the frustration is you've got two choices. You either let autopilot keep steering the car, and you've got to use your right foot to override the speed, and that's a bit hard to do to keep a steady speed. Or you've got to disconnect autopilot and just use traffic aware cruise control, because that will let you override the speed limit and do whatever speed
which is what I did, of course, because it was 15 to 20 minutes before it actually reset itself. Yep. Now with the I don't have the latest software update. I'm still on 28.whatever.2. I found that the car was not reading the end of roadworks signs. So when it's going back to 110, roadworks ends, and you've got 110 proper sign, not a rigged one, and it's not reading it.
Yep,
it used to work.
Yes, but it just depends. It depends. Sometimes they're off on a bit of an angle. They're off a little bit further off the road. What I would do, and I've actually done a U-turn once, I will actually slow down and actually move the car right over to the left side of the road, even on the shoulder, to make sure the camera's got an awesome view of the new speed limit, like 110. And there was once where it didn't pick it up, so I did a UE and went round and made it look at it again, and it picked it up the second time. But yeah, it's a bit of a glitch. Another feature request would be, can we just have like a reset button so that on the dash that resets the speed to the default speed limit in this area? According to Google Maps.
I did try. I usually have it on set according to the speed limit, but I tried putting on my current speed, and I did this when I was driving out of Meriden. I thought, let's try that. So could change it on the fly, driving along, and sure enough, it did one of these little variations where it dropped down in the speed, and I'm going, well, that's not the speed I was traveling at. Why have you done this to me?
Yep. The best you can do is, and I've done this many times, is you set the offset to the maximum, which is 10 k's an hour or 10%, I think, because you can do percent or kilometers. But which is okay if sometimes it misinterprets a 110 and does 100 instead, you can override it back up to 110. But yeah, like in your case, if it says 40, well, at most you're going to get 50. And the reason why Pete and I, as we went around Australia in our different directions, we've probably done, to be fair, about 97.5%, 98% on autopilot. The only reason why it's not effectively 100%, because otherwise it would have been, are these stretches, and some of them are like dozens of kilometres of having to manually drive because the speed limit's it's got the wrong speed limit sign.
Well, after we crossed paths in Barclay, yeah, on the way out of Barclay for about an hour, I had to drive without or override the speed limit. Yeah.
We're living.
It's quite annoying, isn't it? Actually having to drive.
I know.
I don't know
It's
how
a hard life.
To say that, Nigel, it's bloody horrible when you got to drive yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Terrible.
hate it.
It's certainly no, I don't.
When,
Do a long
when
drive and
I
then you got to do 5 minutes.
when I
do it
left
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I left Sydney,
Yes, yeah,
Are
of
you
course,
Paul?
Sean.
I
Yeah,
don't have one
apologies.
yet.
So 2 seconds, 2 seconds, Steve. Yes, apologies to you, Sean. Of course,
Yeah.
we are being whiny little children whinging
Yes.
about our toy cars.
Yes.
They're not going to drive themselves.
Yes.
And
Stop
and
talking
you're
about
stuck. You're stuck in a vibrating, gyrating ice car at the moment.
Yep.
it's called an
that-
ice age, Harold. It's the ice.
Well, Sean's ice age is about to come to an end, which is
Oh,
awesome.
man.
So sorry, Steve. Go on. Go and finish.
I
your-
was
your
going
thing.
to say that I couldn't use auto steer, autopilot too much after leaving Sydney before I got to South Australia because of all the rain they'd had. The roads were excessively potholed
Yeah.
and you just couldn't rely on it. You'd head for potholes, take it off there and drive around and going, it's just not worth the hassle of putting it in and then fighting the torque resistance to then manually drive. So that was what we did for a few days. So it was great to get to South Australia where the roads actually improved.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Actually, I had one point about this new Tesla Vision, and the other day I was getting blinded by the sun, as it's setting, and normally the car would be fine. I was in autopilot, of course. Sorry, Sean. And the radar normally picks stuff up, but it actually just, since it's turned that off now, it went, Hank, I'm Barley's, I'm done.
Yep.
And so it turned itself off while I was driving into the sun, and I couldn't actually see. So I, slowed down, of course, so I could actually see. I was just going, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, sort of stuff.
Yep.
I wonder
And
if that's because radar's been turned off now and it's relying solely on vision.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When
Could
with
I
radar,
just interject here, please?
Yeah, go, Nigel.
I've just,
Nigel.
I'm late joining in, and I've just driven home from my grandson's 7th birthday.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, and I had it in autopilot, and the headlights are going, woohoo, auto bright, go on.
Oh God, yeah.
Not on the road.
Yeah.
So you keep trying to turn it off.
Turn it on.
Yep.
But it works fine when they're not on, but my windscreen wipers were going silly. Ugh. Have we made representation to our
Yes.
friend John about the auto brights coming on? It's not
Well,
needs.
nice,
It
nice.
works
Not-
brilliantly without.
Not to my mate Elon, but I can actually I can confirm we have made high level representations earnestly.
Good. Okay.
And in great detail, because if you Google the Road Traffic Act, and I don't have it in front of me right this moment, but Clause C says something to the effect of, well, the first 2 clauses are, you cannot have high beams on within 200 meters of an oncoming vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So no more than, you have to be at least 200 meters away from an oncoming vehicle.
Is that why I have to jump out with a tape measure?
Yes.
Well, or you have to be 200 meters away from a vehicle you're following. But Clause C, and I believe these are nationally harmonized, not homologated, but harmonized traffic rules. Section C is the damning one, which is you are not allowed to have your high beams on if oncoming traffic has theirs dipped. And by definition, if you're in the city, every single car that's oncoming has their headlights dipped, which means you're never allowed to put your high beams on, ever. Regardless of distance, if the oncoming car has its lights dipped, you cannot use high beam. And that's just the law. Nigel, you need to become familiar with and Sean, you're going to learn this in time, is tap, tap, push.
Yeah, I was doing that. But I just thought I wanted to try it without. So I just did tap, tap, and
tap
I know,
tap flash.
push.
That's what it does.
And,
Yeah,
and let's just say at a certain high level meeting, there was some chortling in the audience, and it was suggested that I might need to patent the tap tap push term, and I said, nah, just a copyright will do. But
Have it on a
yeah,
t-shirt.
so Sean, tap tap push is to turn on autopilot. There's a right hand stalk which you use. It's like the gear shifter. So
Down
it
twice.
actually is. So you do double tap down twice. In fact, yeah, you've driven a Tesla, of course.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then to turn off the auto high beams, you press forward away from you the left hand stalk, which is your indicator stalk. So you go tap tap push, and it'll usually catch the high beam before it actually turns on, but not always. Sometimes it turns on instantly as soon as
It's
autopilot's on.
Because I'm 9 and 3, and I'll go tap tap down, and I flick with my fingers forward, and it still flashed before I could even get to that point. And the person in front of me probably thought, "Fucking Tesla," Tesla tosser,
Tosla, that's a new term. Tosla.
Yeah, there you go.
A Tesla tosser cut me off today in a Model S.
Oh, there's enough of us now. Freaking everywhere, man.
There was a Model
we're
Y in front of it, and I think it was trying to get in. I don't know. Wanted to, who knows, make little Teslas or something.
They're, they're common as muck, Sean. I was driving down, you won't know this street, but I was driving down Manning Road at lunchtime, and I'm in a Model Y. In front of me, about 150 metres, was a white, and I'm a Poverty Pearl White Model Y. There was a Poverty Pearl White Model 3 200 metres in front of me, and then there was a Poverty Pearl White Model Y behind me, and then behind it was a Poverty Pearl White Model 3. So there were 4 Teslas within 300 metres of each other.
There are a lot here now too. You were saying last week you didn't see many, but I drive about 50 k's to work, and I count them.
It is
and
ridiculous.
There's a lot around, and the reason I know this is that every time I see a Model Y, this is a person that ordered their car after I did, and so I'm jealous.
Oh,
And I
don't
considered
worry
changing
about
on that
it.
day to a Model Y, and I thought, number one, I got in just before the price rises,
Yeah.
so I would have had to add that on to the difference. But secondly, I thought, no, mine will come before. Surely it will come before the first Ys will come. Nope.
It doesn't always work like that with Tesla.
No.
But once you get your car, you'll be very happy.
I'll be very happy. I got into a long range Uber the other day, and I was talking to her, and so it's pretty new, this car. And she said, yeah, I ordered it on the 15th of March. I'm like, I ordered mine on the 5th of March. She said, yeah, I've had it for about a month.
Was yours a white one, Sean?
Mine's a grey one.
That could be why, because they Tesla do cars in batches, and you might have been unlucky with the Midnight Silver that there's obviously less of those. But if you're like, say there's 100 Midnight Silvers that they're producing, and you're the 102nd person to order it, you might just miss out on that batch, and you've got to wait to another batch, and all that sort of
I also
stuff.
got different wheels as well. I got the 19-inch wheels, so that may be a problem.
Yes, because Tesla, to make things simpler, they do everything in batches. So they do batches of the same color, the same seat interior, and the same wheels. And they batch them up, and you might have just been unlucky, and COVID and all that, the Shanghai lockdown, unfortunately.
And the more unusual the combination, the less numbers they do, hence the batches are more spread apart. Hence why, that situation can occur where someone else has ordered after you but got their car before you.
It's a bit of a bummer because I wrote off my car a few weeks ago. And I've had to buy another car to get me through for a few weeks. But anyway.
Yes, that's them's are the breaks.
I couldn't say it wasn't my fault either, which is a bit embarrassing. It was my first one in quite a few years of driving, but anyway.
Well, you've done well to do a firstie in dozens of years of driving, so it's nothing wrong with that.
Quite a few dozen.
That's all right. Get it out of the way. Better the ICE car than your brand new Tesla.
Oh yeah.
Bro, the Tesla
Definitely.
wouldn't
Yeah.
have crashed. It would have stopped.
Probably.
Oh,
Probably.
Because
Yeah.
I got
Exactly.
distracted. I was in the
Oh.
city and they're building a new casino, and I'm a builder, so I'm looking up, thinking, oh, why have they left those few windows there? And then I look forward, I was into a car.
no, it was a young
was-
girlie, wasn't it?
It was no, it wasn't. Not this time. It was stop-start traffic. It took me about 50 minutes to go what normally take me 15. So we were all,
Oh, bugger.
yeah. Anyway, no excuse.
Sean, what you can do when you get your car is you can set your collision warning to early.
Oh, don't do
which
that.
Do you
is
think
That's
I
quite-
need
too
that,
early.
do you, Pete?
Do it medium.
What's that?
You think I need that from what you know about me so far?
Well, I've got it set too early, and
Yeah, me
I
too.
like it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd
got
rather
medium
it tell
and
me
that
off
drives me
early
nuts.
than tell me off late. I'd much rather hear it early.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
I mean, it. Yeah.
No, I wasn't implying that at all. I was just going by my situation.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
there's quite a few, without plugging myself, there's quite a few
Well,
sort of safety
sorry.
features to turn on. I did a quick video about it
Yeah.
on my channel, but yeah, it's a 2-part video, so feel free to
Like
look
and
it up,
subscribe.
Will do.
I'm way ahead of you, Pete. I'm about to put it on.
Oh, good.
It's actually
probably the
this.
second part.
If you just do the search ahead of the curve with Pete, and it's the
Exactly. He's pretty
it's
good.
the first
no,
it's the first channel there, and
search for Tesla ahead of the curve. Yeah.
yeah, but well, Pete, look at this. I put ahead of the curve with Pete in the search bar, and looky, the first thing to come up was this.
Yeah,
That's
right.
cool.
So
There you go.
I don't want to refute you, but I just did. So
Yeah, I
if you just put ahead of the curve with Pete, magically the YouTube
Yeah.
just knows that it's you.
The
In fact,
picture
you're
looked
actually called ahead of the curve with Pete.
Yeah.
You know how to find me better than I know how to find myself.
You know, Pete. There are a lot of religions based on getting people to find themselves, and you know, this little Ask Us Anything is one of those. So
Can I ask
so
you
yeah,
a
so
question
yes,
with
Sean.
regard to YouTube? Is that all right? Because I'm getting
Yes.
a bit sleepy.
Yeah, go on.
Just with regard to YouTube, because I've been listening to this show on the way to work, not watching it, but listening to it. And now, obviously,
That's why
I've
you
got to go
hit
and
that
watch all
car.
the Pete
That's
stuff
you were
as well.
catatonic and you hit the car. That's why you wrote your car off.
Wasn't
that was
on
the
at
real
point in
reason.
time.
Go on, so I'm
But
sorry.
now, obviously,
Go.
I've got a lot of Pete shows to go and listen to as well. So, can I listen to YouTube
They're not
while I'm
by the
driving?
way.
Obviously,
Yes.
it won't let me watch it.
Yes, but the only way you can do it is through your phone. So you need to get
Bluetooth.
yes, just through Bluetooth. And if you've got a YouTube what's it called, premium account, you can actually do it while your phone is the screen's off. So you can actually do just audio. But if you've got a free YouTube account, you just have to leave your phone running, so you can't close your phone. But you can just listen to it through
Yeah.
Bluetooth through your car's
Which is what I'm doing now. So just keep
Yep.
doing that.
You can
but
do
in
the
new-
same. Yes. Yep. But the car will not let you. You can't. You can't use YouTube like Spotify or TuneIn through the car itself. You have to do it through your phone.
And unless you're stopped in park or something, then you can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
What you can do is just turn your phone upside down when you put it in the holster or whatever you call it. the
Charging
holder.
port.
Charging
Yeah.
port, that's it. Thanks,
Which is
Paul.
what I do now. I'll just keep doing that then.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, just do that. Just listen to us while you're driving, because we're not a very visually rich podcast, but
At
I
least
was,
speed.
I was a bit nervous about coming on here
speak.
because you're so good looking. But
so
Those
I
are
think you need
glasses
to,
you're wearing.
you need to, yes, that's right. It's those rose-colored
Increase those
glasses,
glasses,
Sean.
Someone should have called Specsavers.
yeah, right.
Dear.
Uh,
But yeah, but yes, I mean, thanks heaps for coming on, and actually, and obviously a shout out to the Talking Tesla guys. They do a
Yeah, I've
great
been
show.
enjoying that podcast. It was good, and then and you were awesome on it as well. You're a good replacement for that Mel guy.
Slightly better looking. I don't do Scottish accents as well as he does, though.
He does have a crappy Scottish accent. It's quite funny.
It is, but I must admit, it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun doing that. So, yeah, it was good fun.
Well, it probably got you exposure here too, which was good.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone wants to contact them and say, "Hey, you should get that Aussie guy back on," well, knock yourselves out.
Yeah,
I'm up for it. In fact,
Reasonable
the one I
rates, Harold?
recorded. Sorry, say again, Steve.
Reasonable rates.
I do it for free, mate. I did it straight after one of these shows. So
hardcore.
they started recording
Hardcore.
at 11 o'clock at night. So that's that week when I closed the show at 10:30, and went straight into a couple of hours with those guys. Was rocked straight on. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
without hogging this, because I know Alan wanted to ask some questions too. I just had a couple of ones, if you don't mind. I just was going
Go on.
the car that I wrote off, my Touareg, had ventilated seats, which was probably the best feature I've ever had in a car ever. I'd run them all the time, especially in Queensland. And before that, I wasn't keen on leather or leather-like look seats. I know the car pre-cools itself. Is it, should I be looking at getting seat covers, something like that, or is it not something I should worry about too much?
No, because the great thing you can do is, if you're say going somewhere, say the shops, and the car's out in the sun or whatever, you can just press, I think it's on or stay on or something, and the aircon will just keep running as you leave the car while the car's all locked up.
Yep.
And then when you get back to it, it'll be just as cool as it was when you left it. Or say if you've left it outside, doing work all day, I don't know, 10 minutes before you think you're going to go back to the car or go to the car, you can just go into your app and just turn on the aircon then.
Okay.
So
one thing I do is if I leave it a bit too late and I forgot to turn it on earlier, and let's say I've only got 7 odd minutes before I get to the car, whatever, I vent the windows as well. This lets all the hot air escape out the top.
Yeah.
And I just do that for 5 minutes and then close the windows. Yeah, but I do that at the same time as the aircon.
Okay.
So you're right, Sean. My Model X has got ventilated seats. It's the type that sucks. It sucks downwards. So I think some ventilated seats push cooler air up towards you.
That's what mine did.
Tesla, the Model X was sucking it away from you, and that was a theory. It was wicking it away.
And that sucks.
Well, yeah, it does suck. It's good if it's.
It sucks.
It can be useful for hiding other things.
Right,
But
Otis.
I'm inclined to call a little bit of BS. I think a lot of it's more perception or what do you call it? Not placebo.
Mm-hmm.
I think, because if you think about it, the part of your cheeks that are firmly pressed against the holes, they're not sucking anything or blowing anything. There's no airflow on the part that's actually you're sitting on, unless you've got, I don't know, Hessian shorts or something. It's only just the bits just around the seat that's sort of blowing a little bit or sucking a little bit.
If you could go on the back of your seat though, because that can get a bit warm, so you lean forward, that could be cooling.
It does work. I used it all the time in the summer. Yeah, you're right. You do block some holes, but as you're saying, Steve, if you lean forward a bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Tesla's ventilated seats actually did it from the back. I'm not entirely sure it did. It was definitely from the bottom, and you could hear the fan in the base of the seat. But yeah, look, the fact is the Model 3 doesn't have it. So
No,
get over
no,
it.
that's-
Short, yeah, it's a short answer. But actually, the good thing is you can actually pre-cool the car, so the seat isn't hot in the first place, and that's pretty important for your comfort.
I must say we had ventilated seats on our Lexus that we had to pull the caravan around, and in summer it actually was quite useful. It's probably that and height adjustable suspension, which we also had on the Lexus, are probably the two things that I miss the most about the Y. That if I had my way, I would have those two.
If you had your Y. Sorry.
You've
I'm
got
a dad.
cabin protect as well, so it never really gets that hot in there anyway, really.
And now
can
on the model,
You can adjust
you
it
can
now.
adjust the cabin protection temperature.
Can you?
It's from
Yeah.
30
The latest
35,
update.
40. But on the Model Y, you can't. So
Is it under
not sure.
safety? Yeah, it's under safety in your screen.
Oh, you adjust it in the carpool, not on your app.
Yeah, you do it in the
Righto.
car first, and you
Yep.
can do 30 degrees where it kicks in, 35 or 40.
Yeah, wicked.
Oh, Paul,
Yeah,
that's Model 3, right?
yeah.
Yeah. See, the Model Y won't do it.
The Model
Not
Y
sure
doesn't have it yet, but you just put your aircon on 10 minutes before you hop in. Or
That's
like
awesome.
me, I'll do it 20 minutes and then got a nice, cool car. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
They are cool
Literally
cars.
and metaphorically.
Oh, and
No,
now we can, the live Sentry on your phone you can look at. So it's quite funny because I was showing my work colleagues and they're like, so you can spy on us while you're walking around the car. And I said, yeah, but it recorded you anyway. So
Nigel Ferrier and Peter Ship and I did a wedding on the weekend.
oh yeah.
And we had so I had the Model Y. We all had our air conditioning on so that the guests could get into a nice, cool car. And I must have had mine on a bit too much because the bridesmaids got in there and went, "Oh, this is way too cold. Can you turn the aircon off?"
Fortunately, you've
they
got
got
seat
in-
heaters. So you could have fixed that quickly.
Well-
the seat heaters.
Wedding car.
I could have, but all I did was turn it off for 5 minutes and then they wanted it back on again. So, yeah.
Yeah, the sexy wedding.
Wow.
S3
That's cool, man.
X and Y.
First sexy wedding, I think.
That's cool.
That is cool. What's that stupid BMW doing there?
Yeah, a bit out of place.
That was a nice day. Yeah.
Beautiful
Yeah.
there.
A lot of standing around doing bugger all.
But good on you
Oh,
guys.
Is
no,
Nigel ever grumpy? By the
What were
way?
you
I've only
doing there,
listened to a
Nigel?
few
Your
shows.
chauffeur?
What? I was driving the S.
And that was
right.
very kindly lent to us by Naeem from, Tokwa, one of our Tokwa members. Big shout out to him. If he's watching, and thanks again for lending us the Model S, because without it, would have been an XC wedding rather than a 6.
Oh, you don't want Exy so soon into a marriage, really. You've got to think positive.
Yeah.
I
And
was
also
thinking
Peter Ship
something
as
else,
well.
but I don't want to get demonetized.
Oh, yeah, that would be awful because, yes, we don't have 1,000 subscribers and we're definitely not monetized, so they can't be demonetized. But it
Well,
looks like we are going to
subscribe.
get our Tokwa handle, so that's pretty cool. Which YouTube's just introduced now, so that's another feature.
Is there a Tokwa? Is there a Queensland version?
There is a Tokar with a Queensland branch, so that's the other club on the eastern states, and there is a Queensland branch. So just Google Toka and look up Queensland. I think
Right.
that branch is quite active.
Yeah.
But of course, you're even more than welcome to, lurk on,
Join
ask
in.
us anything or whatever, because, we're open to everyone. We don't care. In fact, international, we welcome anyone to join in, because
Even Tasmania.
even Tasmanians, sometimes we see Chuck from the future, because he's actually an hour ahead of you, Sean,
Is he?
because you're an anti
We are
daylight
Not even
savings
so.
state like WA is.
ridiculous.
Good.
Oh, actually,
Ridiculous.
Messes with
That-
the circadian rhythm anyway.
well, that's dead right, and that's why they always coincide with
Long weekends.
long weekends.
Yeah.
Mm.
But the statisticians do show that traffic accidents increase and all that sort of stuff
Yeah.
on the at the start of a daylight savings episode. But what that actually got me to do, or enabled me to do, which I couldn't do earlier, was this, which I just did just in sunny Queensland, and that is.
I wish
this.
I made the video about 4 weeks ago, Harold.
Yes, well, you should have gone. You should have seen into the future, Pete.
Yes.
Alrighty, I've just driven into New South Wales from Queensland. You can see Queensland's up here and New South Wales is down here. The correct Queensland time is 11:31 a.m. and obviously New South Wales, because they currently have daylight savings, the correct time ought to be 12:31. Now, the way you actually fix this on the Tesla is you basically press and hold on the time for a few seconds until it changes. And there you go. So, since there are these newfangled things called, where's the shorts? Oh, come on, videos.
I was going to say that was very meta, Harold.
YouTube Shorts. Oh, that's right. That was very meta.
Ask us anything. Ask us anything while we're watching it.
Yeah. Why not?
I watched them earlier today at work, so that's quite funny.
Alrighty, I've just driven into New South Wales from Queensland, and you can see on the map there, that's Queensland, this is New South Wales. Now, currently the Queensland time is 11:13 a.m, but obviously New South Wales, because there's daylight savings, it's 1 hour ahead. Now, this clock hasn't actually up. Anyway, that I had to re-film it, but actually to do that, I had to drive from here, which is Tweed Heads, whatever, and go all the way across to here before the time actually went back to Queensland time. Then I had to drive back down. Well, it's only, a kilometre or whatever. But anyway, the things we do above and beyond. And then when I tweeted it out, someone commented and said, "So how many times do you use that in Western Australia?" And the correct answer is, well, hardly ever. But then we did tweet back and say, well, actually, two West Australians did a double lap around Australia. So we crossed 4 time zones. So it was handy. And in fact, if Pete had watched that video, he wouldn't have been on Northern Territory time all through Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. Hey, Pete?
Yes.
Yeah, I found that one in Google about a year ago.
Yes. Yep. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
that's what I could have done. I could have just Googled it, but
Or you just use your watch and just go, what time is it?
Oh, I could have done this. A lot of things I could have, should have done.
You go, Rick.
I remember when I was driving my sister's S from top of Scotland to Germany, I didn't have to change a thing. As soon as I went over any border, it went between miles an hour and Ks, and the time changed instantly and automatically. So it seemed to do it seamlessly.
Yep.
There, and I've heard going between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. There's multiple ways you can get across. Apparently, it does it seamlessly there as well. So,
yep.
I don't know why it would be so slow, because it was instant when I did it.
Yeah, in my X, when I went round in 2018, it did the same thing. And on that one, you had to tap it incessantly. You had to do multiple taps. So when I first did that video, I didn't actually know whether it was a long tap or multiple incessant ones. And I think actually maybe both work. I'm not exactly sure. But I just did the experiment and then it worked. But
you better make allowance for Queensland.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I think the reason why it doesn't work as well in Australia compared to Europe is because, so this was Harold and I were trying to work out why it didn't automatically do it, and we think it was because when I went from one time zone to the other, there was no 4G or 3G reception, no mobile reception, and so the GPS would have said, "Okay, go and check the time," and there was no GPS, there was no reception, so it didn't check again, so it just left it as it was.
That makes sense.
So maybe that's possibly why.
If it's that simple, yeah.
But there's Sean. That's an example of, you know, if you have a look at our YouTube things, we'll try and put more of these pro tips up, because there's a lot of things, little tips that Tesla, you know, have that people just don't know about. And in fact, there's another one that we tweeted out, and that was that there's actually a support page. Sorry, I'm just going to try and find the last couple of tweets. Oh, here it is. So there's a do-it-yourself guide. So if you just look at our Tesla_WA Twitter handle, and it was only just a few days ago, but if you click on this website, it's basically, if I get this to go up properly, oh, sorry, it went too high. But you can find it through the support page, and it's do-it-yourself Model Y. Now you can actually, because you're getting a Model 3, you just change it to 3.
The question is, where are the emissions associated with the electric car? Because what you do with an electric vehicle is you don't eliminate emissions. You export them somewhere else. You have to dig up about 500,000 pounds of materials to make a single 1,000 pound battery.
Did someone just open the video, or was that me?
300 barrels of oil to manufacture a battery that can hold 1 barrel of oil.
Richard Cooper, where's Richard Cooper?
Just manufacture the battery and have a carbon.
Yeah.
Oh, it was cool. Okay, sorry about that. So it's got a whole list of things, you know, restarting your touchscreen, power cycling the vehicle, pairing Bluetooth, but you've also got things like replacing cabin filters. So, you know, most people might not know how to do that, but it'll actually give you step-by-step instructions on what to do. Well, yeah. So,
sorry.
Oh, and you know, there's a whole list right to actually opening your bonnet. Where was it? Jump starting. Opening the bonnet with no power.
Is there a section there? How do you turn your wipers off when you're in autopilot?
No. That's a future feature request that will come later. But yeah, so basically, and this also applies, you know, if this is with a Model 3, it also applies for Model S. It applies to every car. You can just put in whatever you want, and it'll tell you various things. Manually releasing the charge cable. So in the Model 3, that is manually releasing charge cable. There's a little release pull mechanism that you just pull on the left-hand side of the car. You shouldn't do that all the time. It's just if for some reason it won't release automatically. But yeah, so there's lots of little bits and pieces that Tesla do have, but not everyone's aware of. So we try and tweak things out like that, or put it on a show like this, so that everyone can learn from that experience.
Harold,
Nigel,
while we're talking of manual release for the charge port door, my Model Y, since I got it, at a supercharger, pick up the handle, press the button, the charge port door opens, and I can plug it in. The destination chargers, pick them up, press the button, and it does bugger all. I have to use the app, the screen, or touch it to open it. And I've had Tesla out, and they replaced the whole module, and it's still intermittently working. What?
Sorry, is this at home?
Oh, look, it's at home. It's at the shopping centre. It's at various places that have got destination chargers.
So when you said they swapped the module, you mean inside your car they swapped the module,
Yeah,
the receiver module?
Replaced the door, the charge port, the the reception module, the whole works. I'm going back tomorrow, taking it up to Tesla so they can do testing. If you open the boot, put the charge handle inside the boot and point it at the thing, press the button, the charge door opens.
Okay, so
but it doesn't. I'm standing in the garage pressing the button, and my Model 3 on the other side of the garage, charge door opens.
Okay, it'll be the UHF. It's a 433.92 megahertz receiver.
They've replaced it.
Okay. One thing I don't know is it a self-contained receiver, or is it a module that then plugs into an antenna? Because what it might, if that is the case, I don't know that to be certain. But if it is the case, the actual antenna itself may be faulty, and they may not think of it as being faulty. If it's short-circuited, for example, it'll deafen the.
Why does it work at the supercharger? I've been there 3 or 4 times just to prove that it works at the supercharger.
All right, then how many places you need to go other places? Because what could happen is there might be local interference.
I've been to 5 different destination chargers, one of which was actually at the Tesla showroom, and they came out and said, no, look, it doesn't work, does it?
Okay. Well, in that case, they need to change the module again. Or like I said, maybe the module has an antenna connection to it. And because the module could be, I don't know, in the center of the car or near the front of the car. And then
the module is actually up near the charge port in that rear wing area.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going back tomorrow morning to take the car up to Tesla because I had Colin out, and he replaced the whole lot, and it still wouldn't work.
Yeah, well, hopefully
then he's blaming my PPF.
No,
and I go, no, it's not. And he goes, well, yeah,
no, it's not. Your PPF hasn't got any metal in it, and it's not.
It didn't work before I had the PPF.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was probably the.
I was just wondering if any other Model Y people have got the same trouble.
You know what? Sometimes I think with Leonie's, when she's pressing the button, I think it does take a little bit, and I'm just like, I just tap the thing, but yeah, I think so.
Have you got the same problem,
Joe? The Y, now I think about it. Yeah, I press the button and the 3 opens, but not the Y, and I just touch the side of the Y, but I haven't really thought that is a problem.
Good.
I must admit, I've had it happen to me a couple of times as well. But previously I had problems pressing, the button, and so once it's charging to release it, and even though I'm right next to it, I'm pressing down on it, holding it down, and it would just never, for some reason, it would just never work.
I've not had that trouble. Every time it's plugged in and charging, and I press the button, it disconnects and releases it.
Oh no, Nigel, that's for a different reason. When it's connected and you press the button, it actually affects it interrupts the resistor value, I think it is, so that it actually disconnects straight away, and it doesn't need power. And also, if you're bearing in mind, it's mated right into the connector, so it's a lot closer than if you hold it in your hand and press it, because you can't obviously put it up into the charge port because the door's in the way.
Yeah, it's it's not the end of the world. I don't want a refund because the car's not serviceable. But it's just fuck.
That's a world problem.
It's grumpy there on my
screen.
I'm
grumpy. I'm going to go up and give it some shit tomorrow.
Oh dear.
I wonder if the Model 3 does have a separate antenna, and maybe the Model Y module has an integrated one, and perhaps that's why people's signals aren't being received quite as well as on the Model 3. And perhaps it's a higher power output at the superchargers.
Yeah, I did wonder that. I'm going to ask him a few questions tomorrow, but I've got to be up there.
I've had a couple of situations where I've pressed the button and both the Model 3 and the Model Y opened up at the same time.
Yeah, they do that. Yeah. Yeah. They definitely do that.
Yeah, that happened in my garage, and Colin was there, and he goes, "Well, that's strange. Now I've witnessed it myself."
Cool. Anything else? Any other questions or comments?
Just a
Is
comment.
anyone getting up at?
Oh, sorry, go, Paul.
Just a comment.
I mean,
the-
sorry, Paul Vian. I mean, the other Paul. Yeah, whatever. Sorry,
Which Paul?
Whatever. Go, Paul Douglas. Apologies.
Thanks. I was just looking today. The ship that my Y is on has been delayed another 2 days. It was originally scheduled to arrive here on the 23rd, and today I know.
Actually, before you go on, Paul, if that's information you got from Vita Prime.
No.
Oh, okay. All right, then go for it. Okay.
It's just my own research.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Please explain
It's
away.
in Singapore at the moment. It's been there a couple of extra days. And I noticed today on the port schedule here that it's not coming in until the 25th now. My delivery date was from the 23rd to the 6th of November.
So is this a Y or a 3?
Y.
Oh, okay. So what are you saying? It's coming into Freo?
It's due. It was due in on the 23rd. It's now due in on the 25th
of October.
Yeah. Next week.
Wow, that's news to me. Yeah, cool. That's all. That'd be awesome if that's right.
Yeah, my
cool.
delivery date on my app was from the 23rd to the 6th, I think, and so that'll get pushed out now. I guess it hasn't changed on my app, but I noticed on the shipping, on the movements, the port movements list today, that it's pushed out to the 25th. The ship, by the way, name of Clover Ace. It's a car carrier.
Right. Okay. Just hang on 2 seconds. So if you really want to know what's going on with your shipment or ships or whatever, the best service is Vita Prime. So if you just Google Vita Prime or look at his Twitter handle, and it shows his Patreon page, and I don't even remember how much it is because he's now doing it full time.
I think it's like $5 or $10 a month, but you don't have to subscribe for a year or anything like that. You can do it month, so you can just do like 1 or 2 months, and then as soon as you have your car, you can unsubscribe.
Yeah, I'm not that interested really. I just was working backwards from when the ship left Shanghai and when the date of delivery was 23rd, and I looked at the ships that were coming into port, and I just calculated that was the ship because there's nothing else I thought was coming in around that time.
Well, I remember people having schedules, and the ship hadn't even arrived after. It arrived well after their estimated delivery date, and that's just what happens. It's only an estimate, and they don't really update it very often.
Yeah.
So,
and even
but
then,
in any
once
case,
it's landed in Freo, it takes weeks to get to you because they've got to offload it, move it from the dock to King Edward Road or whatever, clean it, unwrap it, prepare it.
There's another place that he goes to beforehand. There's another before he gets to King
So it
Edward
takes at
Road.
least 2 weeks once it's landed.
And quarantine as well, yeah.
And Harold,
so-
I think
so-
Alan is desperate to ask a question, poor fella. He keeps taking the mic off and somebody else interrupts. So I think we should give Alan
Oh, sorry.
a go.
Okay. Well, absolutely. And just 2 seconds, Alan. This, just for completeness, this is Vita Prime's patron page. So it does cost between $5, $10, and $22 a month. If you are tracking, it's $22, and it's by calendar month. So you're best off starting at the start of the month rather than don't join like 2 days before the end of the month, because then it'll cost you another $22 for the next month. But in any case, that's if you're really into tracking, and he has very, very, very good information. He's the one that actually told us that there was Australia's first ship to come straight to Fremantle from Shanghai, basically. It was the first one on the west side. And he gave about 3 days notice of it arriving. No one else knew about it. So sorry, it was Alan next. Go, Alan.
Great, thanks. Okay. So just a quick clarification of what we've been talking about earlier on the rollout of the superchargers. So that map you brought up before is the state government's fast chargers. Is Tesla doing anything to complement that?
Yes. So they are, without bringing up the map, but from memory, what's been publicly known is a Lancelin supercharger, a Mandurah supercharger,
Albany,
and an Albany supercharger. They are absolutely roll gold confirmed. Lancelin and Mandurah are on Tesla's rollout supercharger page. In fact, I'll bring that up.
I think from what you said previously, that's going to be at the Puma station, which is kind of like halfway between the freeway.
We're only surmising. No, we're only guessing that seems to make sense. It would be about there, or there are a couple of service stations there. When there was a slight
driveway.
Hopefully. You never know.
Absolutely.
It's a drive-through.
I'll just bring up the map. So this is the map here, and if we just get rid of all the clutter of everything else but superchargers, you'll see there are 2 places. So there's Lancelin. This is actually, we know the exact address. It's right next to where Synergy's going to go. I forget what the park is called. It's right next to the IGA. And then you've got Mandurah. Now, there was a time when if you go view all Tesla locations, that Tesla had inadvertently published most of the accurate addresses, which they don't normally do. But Mandurah notably wasn't an accurate address. It just said, sorry, what's the road, Alex?
Pinjarra Road.
Pinjarra Road, yeah.
Pinjarra Road, that's it. But it's not just these locations, these 2 locations that we know for certain. We also know Albany, because that's in council documents that have been approved, and that's also going right next to the Synergy fast DC charger. So they are the 3 locations we know of. There was also another location that Tesla has removed the pin, but it seems they've done that mainly for scheduling reasons. They're not entirely certain when it will arrive, but that was a pin that was in the centre of the city, but that's only a notional pin for what they called the Perth supercharger, because the Karrinyup one is known as Perth North. Okay. And actually, for the benefit of Sean, there are a couple of superchargers going in the Brizzy area, and one is near where I rented this Model Y, which is in Rockdale. I don't know how you pronounce that. Where's that? That's somewhere. Here. How do you say that suburb?
Rochdale.
Rockdale or
Rochdale.
Rochdale.
That's right.
Rochdale. Awesome. Yeah. So it's right near there. In fact, it's on this road here, Miles Planting Road. Yeah, in Rochdale. Which would have been handy because I had to return my car there and I had to charge it at Indooroopilly, and we've already gone through that little rant of how great that experience that was.
Or you could have gone to the IKEA, which has a 50 kilowatt charger.
Yeah, but I didn't have time, Steve. I had to get to the airport and cross Brisbane without using a tollway because I didn't want to go through that pain and suffering again.
Sorry, Harold, you could use my garage as well, but I just didn't know that you wanted it.
You were too slow. Well, that's right. Yeah, but but too slow, Sean. I would chop. We've got to get fast charging, mate. If I don't charge, actually, I was charging at 900 k's an hour, which is as fast as the 737 that I was flying in goes.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool. So sorry, Alan, that was that question.
So, all right. So just confirming then. So from what you've been saying, the state government haven't actually come out with a rollout plan. And I suppose my my interest is getting to Kalgoorlie and back. As to whether
Yes.
those Merredin, Southern Cross, Northern will go in earlier than perhaps say, nobody knows at this stage.
We don't know, to be honest.
Okay.
It's got a lot of factors to do with you've got council approvals, you've got sometimes you've got planning issues because you've got land use issues because sometimes the council might not have access to that land. It might be administered by Main Roads or some other government department, and you've got to transfer title or at least transfer the ability to lease it out to Synergy or whatever. You've got Western Power applications for network augmentation. So in other words, fitting a transformer and doing the approvals process. You may have to run power under a road. So you've got to book that in and get approvals for that and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
You might have to have all these processes. And then if you have a look, say, where you're interested in, which is between Perth and Kalgoorlie. So you've obviously got Merredin, Southern Cross, well, Merredin and Southern Cross, basically, to Kalgoorlie. It's obviously preferable if you can do one string sort of at a similar time because it's kind of pointless to just have Kalgoorlie as a shag on a rock and then you can't really get there. So it's just a matter of timing, and that would be quite difficult to do, is working out how you can schedule it so that you get nice sort of paths or a route that's sort of semi-completed. But yeah, obviously that's not something that Synergy has released, nor Horizon Power for that matter. So there's no way of knowing. I guess the simplest answer is end of next year, it'll all be done.
We'll be all good. Yeah, okay, good.
But we just
All right,
don't know which part of next year.
Yeah, sure, no worries. So I talked to you earlier in the week. Our first road trip is going to be down to Denmark for a wedding. And I think you were saying, and again, for us to explore the options, we were sort of thinking of going across from Mandurah to Williams, then down to Coach and up, and then going through to Denmark, but exploring on the way back, perhaps going through Donnybrook, Bridgetown, and then Bunbury. But the thing that worries me is that you said to have a look at PlugShare, and that when you go to PlugShare, they say that some of these sites, like I think Pemberton, has been offline for a while. Before we set off, do we ring people to say, are you there, or that kind of thing? How do we go about?
So, absolutely. Okay, so I went down to Albany a couple of weeks ago, and to my huge frustration, I went onto the ChargeFox app, because ChargeFox, you access Donnybrook, Bridgetown and Pemberton with the ChargeFox app. And I was going to Albany, and I had charged up at Eton, which is just Trendale Shopping Centre. And I looked on the ChargeFox app, and I don't have the screenshots handy, but I looked up Donnybrook and it said it was offline. I looked up Bridgetown, and it said it was offline. And I looked up Pemberton and it was offline. And I knew I really wanted to charge at one of these charges just to make it to Albany. So I went past Donnybrook, and I think I actually took this photo. I did too. And it shows the red lights. But to be honest, I took this photo from the driver's window, and I didn't actually go up to the charger. I now regret doing that. That was on the 22nd of September. So as far as I was concerned, this station was offline. Then I went to Bridgetown, and that was also offline, and it had the red lights. But I actually persisted because I really did want to charge. And all it was, if I just go back to the Donnybrook station, is one of the locals had pressed this red emergency stop button.
Locked out.
What I had to do was, and unfortunately on these these are Sercontrol old units. This is the original RAC Electric Highway, which by the way is no longer owned by the RAC. This box here is actually owned by the Shire of Bridgetown, or whatever that shire is. So these units, if you press the e-stop, it actually takes the entire unit offline. So it stops talking to the internet, it basically kills it effectively. So what you do is I then walked up to it and undid the e-stop, read the instructions on the screen, because it actually says e-stop pressed. It says undo the e-stop, so it's a quarter turn to the left. It's like those emergency button mushroom buttons. Then it says press the AC and the DC start buttons, and they are, it's a bit hard to see. I don't think it's going to, no, it's not. Oh yes, it's going to zoom in. Oops. Okay, here, there's a start and a stop, and you press the two together. I can't remember whether it was a start and stop or maybe the AC start and the DC start at the same time. And that then, after about 2 minutes, the whole unit reset and then started working. Then it came online. I could access it via the app, or I just used the ChargeFox RFID card and just tapped it on this reader here.
Yeah.
And then it worked. So ringing's going to be, there's no point in ringing because there's no one to ring, because the Shy doesn't know if it's working. You just look on the ChargeFox app. So that's a bit of homework to do if you haven't got the ChargeFox app yet.
I've got ChargeFox app and the RFD card as well. I've got one of those sent to me.
Right, okay. But on the app, and in fact, I'll just bring up the app very quickly to see what the live status is. ChargeFox. So you can actually do this at any time, and you can just look at the map, and it's got all the icons there. Actually, most of them seem to be working off just. Oh no, there's the Margaret River one. You'll see there's a black icon in the between where Margaret River is basically.
Yes.
So that's offline, and we know that because it's been vandalised. But as we look now, the Bridgetown one says that it's all available. I wouldn't trust the Pemberton one just in case. So don't necessarily charge at Pemberton. In fact, Pemberton actually shows the CCS and the Chatamo are offline.
Right,
and
okay.
only the Type 2 is working. So
and Pemberton's a bit off the track anyway if you're going straight up to Bunbury anyway. So
yeah, precisely. So Pemberton is. So I would be inclined top up at Trendale if you want to do it a little bit cheaper, because that's I don't know, they're 40 cents plus a 20% discount if you're an RAC member, or charge up at Eaton, which is 69 cents per kilowatt hour. And then look, you could give Donnybrook a go. Just have a little bit of an opportunistic charge, or definitely Bridgetown.
Yeah.
And charge up there.
Okay.
And then
we don't need to take any. We don't need to take any cables or anything, do we?
No. So, and then you'll get straight to Denmark, and like we discussed, you just plug in on a 10 amps and you'll be fine. And then on the way back, if you'd like, you can go up to Kojonup, and then Williams, and then across to Mandurah.
Sounds good.
As a loop.
Now,
on the filters, I've just put Tesla Fast, CCS, and the Tesla slow chargers, the AC chargers. You'll notice if I put Type 2,
I was going to say Mandra's down at the moment too.
Yes, well, that'd be right. So you notice if I take off Type 2, there was just this one pin here that's appeared or disappeared. So really, there's no need for the Type 2 cable. It's of no use because there's nothing in Walpole that uses it, or Denmark.
Yes. Okay.
And for that matter, well, the Pemberton has got a Type 2 as an emergency backup, but if you've charged up at Bridgetown, you'll be fine.
We'll be fine. Yeah,
So,
that's good.
So there's really no need.
Okay. Then just following your advice, we've got the tyre repair vulcanized kit.
Yes, awesome.
Yes, that's good. But so I think you were saying that it's good to be able to have a jack or something, or a spare tyre, if that's possible to borrow off the club. just in case you need to take the tire off to repair the thing. Do you have like a spare tire kit or something or not?
So what car have you got, Alan? Is it?
It's a Model 3.
Standard range, or is it a
Standard
performance?
range, yeah.
Okay, and when are you leaving?
I think that's 2 weeks' time down to Denmark. About let's look at the calendar.
Yeah, we should have a spare available. We've got an aero wheel, so that's the standard full size spare.
Okay.
I've got one at my house, Harold.
Oh yeah, cool, Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you? Where are you?
Aero
Alan?
wheel.
In Mandurah.
I'm in Mandurah. Yes. Yep. Falls Head.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could come up. You'd have to come up to Perth.
Yep.
I mean, Andrew's a little bit south of where I am, but not tremendously. But yeah, so you can sort of borrow it. Look, in reality, look, the most likely thing you may get is a tech screw.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, you can get a catastrophic flat. I know I've done it once in my life, and it was on the freeway less than a year ago, or about a year or so ago. And that's the first catastrophic flat I've had in my life, where the tire went from 50 psi to 0 in 2 kilometers. And there was nothing I could do about it. But every other thing, as most of us would know, is just a tech screw or nail or something similar.
Yes.
You know, and in which case it's a slow leak that you can either just keep topping up, or you can put the slug in. And the thing is, even if it's on the back wheel, you just drive until it's facing you, and then you can sort of stick that.
Yeah, stick it in
vulcanized
the way
thing
you go. Yeah, yeah, I get it. So
yeah. I mean, otherwise, if you've got a spare, you wouldn't do it. You just put the spare on and drive off.
Yeah, sure. And we've also got the green goo stuff as a backup to that. But again, I think from some of the comments being made, that's kind of like a last resort.
Yes, because it's highly, well, I don't know this to be certain, but I surmise it's highly likely you might affect the tire pressure monitoring system.
Yeah.
And they cost, how much are they? Are they $60 or something, or is it $100?
About mine was $60 because apparently you can use just a standard one. The Tesla ones don't work on a different frequency or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that Alan, that would be the case if you're sort of in the middle of nowhere and it's the only way you can get away, and there's no cars coming or no help coming.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you'd probably use the goo for these days with these tire pressure monitoring systems. If it was in the olden days without those, yeah, go for your life. And maybe all you have to do is change your Schroeder valve, you know, your thing valve maybe, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
How far does the Tesla Assist system work? Is it just within the metropolitan area, or does that go sort of country as well? I mean, like if you go up to Kalgoorlie and you have a flat going through Coolgardie, have they got some sort of a deal with a local repair shop to help you out?
Roadside.
Like roadside assist.
Anyone?
Yeah, it's only 80
Ks?
Yeah, 80 Ks from the center of the city. So just
okay.
get RAC.
Yeah, so we're massive RAC. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you can do for anyone that is not actually currently got RAC roadside assist, I believe you can actually buy it there and then. Like you can basically ring them as a breakdown and then give them your credit card number and they'll bill you. I think it might cost a little bit more.
It will cost a lot more. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so my last question is about, so we've been running off our 10 and 15 amp sockets out of the normal house supply, but we're looking to get a 32 amp single phase upgrade. Again, just listening to some of the people have put like a socket on the wall such that your cable can then be taken with you if you need to go country, such that you can use that cable and charger in the country. Is that the right approach to take?
Yeah, some people. So have you got single phase, Alan?
Single phase.
Yep. So you've got 63 amps single phase.
Not yet. No, I
You're
don't.
in. So you're in Mandurah.
Yes, yes. So at the moment,
Yeah, you're in Mandurah. Yeah. Okay. So you'll have 63 amps single phase. So, some people are using their HPWCs, their Tesla wall connectors, their fixed wall connectors, and they'll put a plug on it and plug that into the house, and then they'll unplug it from the house and take it with them, which does work. But I personally know two people that have done that, and on a road trip, Rob Dean, I think his broke down in Halls Creek, which was unfortunate, and another gentleman, I forget where that one broke, but somewhere on a road trip, because they're not designed or intended to be portable units.
Yes.
They're designed to be mounted on the wall and left.
Yeah.
But having said that, if you do it every now and then, I'm not going to tell you that you can't do it or it won't work. It's just if you did it often, you're running the risk of prematurely aging that unit, perhaps. But it can be done. An alternative is you just go and buy one of these HPWCs, get an electrician to fit it. And then if you want to go on a road trip, just borrow what's called the CONS charging unit or portable connector from the club for free for road trips.
Okay.
And that'll charge your car at 11 kilowatts from a 32 amp three-phase outlet.
All right. So then when I go to an electrician, should I be asking him to quote for a HPWC charger, or do I need to get the Tesla charger and then they buy that and then make it a 63 amp charging?
So don't. Yeah, so you just buy it from Tesla, go to their website. It costs
750
or is it
bucks?
750 or something?
760 or something like that.
760.
750.
So I'm just rapidly trying to type this in, and they might even be in stock, although it kind of varies.
Just while you're looking there, Harold, you keep looking. You keep looking, but the Telstra roadside assist for tyres is 80 kilometres from your location, not from the city. So if you break down in 40 k's out of Donnybrook, and they have somebody in Donnybrook, they'll get to you. So it's a bit vague. It depends on where they've got relations with repairers.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, cool. That's a good point. I was actually going to say that too. That is from your home. It's not from Tesla. It's $750, and they're in stock, and they come with a 7.3 meter cable. Now, the thing is, you should get a couple of quotes from electricians, because in a single phase house, it's actually pretty simple. Because you only need a single phase, what's called an RCBO, a circuit breaker with a earth leakage detector, and they only cost about $50 roughly.
Yeah.
And it's a single phase circuit, and it depends on where your meter box is compared to your garage. If you're lucky, it's right next door to it, and it's a short cable run.
Yeah, look, I think from where the meter box is, we've got a little bit of an alcove. I think it's about a 10 to 15 meter run over the roof space.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's not terrible, and it's only simple single phase. It's not a hard job, so it's not something that's complex and technical. It's just like installing. It's really like installing a big PowerPoint, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
Except the cable's thicker, But
Yes.
and you just tell the electrician that that unit will pull up to 32 amps.
Yeah.
So that's all I need to know is it's a 32 amp single phase device.
Okay. So then they put the appropriate single phase socket on the wall, which is one of these five.
No. You hardwire it. No.
You hardwire straight in.
So.
Okay.
Yep, hardwired straight in. So they mount it to the wall, hardwire it straight in.
Yeah.
There's no plug, no socket. Interestingly, if we're in New Zealand and we're not, if we had someone on the program, which we will one day, that's even further ahead of the curve than Sean is, it's actually specifically illegal to have an EVSE plugged into a power outlet. It's banned in New Zealand.
Wow. Okay. Yep.
And in the regulations, it's taken as not recommended in Australia, but that's not mandated in AS 3000. It's just recommended that you don't. But in New Zealand, it's specifically illegal.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
So just saying,
again,
just
yeah,
saying.
Yeah. So it's just a case of then getting local electricians to come up and provide a quote and then just see what the story is.
Yep. Yep. I recommend personally that you don't, I think Tesla have a list of recommended electricians.
Yes.
It seems from people's experience that they are rather expensive.
You'll pay
So-
twice to 4 times as much as another electrician.
Okay. So then do typically owners buy the Gen 3 and then supply that to the electrician and then they wire that in?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, don't get the electrician. There's no point because the electrician, they will naturally be inclined to want to put cost plus on it because why would they be expending money that they have to get off you and all that hassle? You just go and, in fact, you just go to Tesla's website and you just add to cart, you put in your details and before it, you just go straight and add it to your cart and, well, in fact, I've just bought 2 and go to the checkout and order it and it'll get shipped straight to your house. And when it arrives, then you can book your electrician.
Okay, excellent. That sounds good. Oh, well, that will be a job for tomorrow then.
Yeah. Oh, look, the website's open 24 hours, so you can
order it
you can
now.
hop on. You can order it now.
Do I get steak knives with that?
No, but Elon will send me a koala stamp just for bolstering Tesla's turnover just before earnings call in a few hours' time.
Oh, is that right? Is that right? My gosh. Yes.
Yeah, it is earnings call at 5:30 a.m. Our time tomorrow morning. And you can just follow that on YouTube or IR Tesla. Just Google IR Tesla, which stands for what's it stand for, Pete? Something relations. Investor relations. Investor relations.
And so who was the guy that you said for me to have a look at who does the analysis of the Tesla stock price? There was a guy in America.
Rob Mauer, Tesla Daily.
Well, Rob Mauer and also James Stevenson.
James Stevenson was the guy I watched, and so the Tesla shares are worth bigger than all of the other car companies put together as a capital.
Yes. Pretty much, yes. Tesla's market capitalization is greater than the sum of most of the rest of the car manufacturers. Yes, that's true.
Incredible.
It is.
Yeah.
And like I said, James Stevenson, he just did a 30 tweet thread of all his graphs and his predictions for his forecast for Q3. And he forecasts out to 2026 or 7. And I'll just preface what I'm about to say with this, which is...
The following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
But yeah, having said all of that, he just shows that Tesla's earnings are just going to go through the roof. I mean, he was talking to Dave Lee, and they were trying to war game what he thought were the risks, the downside risks of Tesla, plausible downside risks. And one thing he mentioned, he goes, well, nuclear war breaking out in Europe isn't a risk that he thought he would have to sort of worry about. He goes, I guess that's one. And obviously if China invades Taiwan, that's another risk. But apart from those sort of outliers, the outlook's quite sunny for Tesla. And they're starting to get the magic of economies of scale. And when you double your turnover, you don't actually double your profit. Your profit often goes up several times
Exponentially.
because
Yeah.
of just the way profit works, because all your fixed costs are very much similar and your variable costs are the bit that actually goes down with scale. And you just start making more and more profit until it becomes a little bit embarrassing.
So there's a problem here then. So when we go to the shopping centre car park, and there's about 20 white poverty pack Teslas, how are we going to distinguish which one are we going to actually open the door, apart from having some remote beep thing?
No, it's all right. It's you just turn the honk the horn through the app, or you turn the lights on through the app, or you get the car just to come to you. By that time,
but Pete, when there are 300 Poverty Pearl White Model 3s and Ys at the shopping centre car park, you'll hear this hum of like honking geese going honk, 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 and you go, well, which one was mine? Because, you know, there's so many of them.
Just put a map of Australia on the bonnet. And then you'll always
it's the one with the map. It's the one with the map of Australia. So hands up, whose car that's gone around Australia still has a map of Australia on their bonnet?
I did it once.
Oh,
no.
You took it off, didn't you, Pete? You took it off for the wedding.
I
knew.
Harold. So,
very good, Pete.
But I did
Harold
say,
sorry, go
Sean.
Sean.
A car park. No problem.
Well, I actually took mine off. I took mine off early. But I think Pete's going to grab his because I predict that he's gone to fish it out. But yeah, we took ours off, Sean, because it's a little bit naff with a map of Australia. Have you got it? You got to turn your background off, Pete.
Oh yes.
Your background's still on, mate.
Hang on. Can you see that? Oh no, you can't. Yeah, you're right.
No.
All right. Backgrounds and none. There we go.
Voila.
There we go. There it is. Hang on.
Oh, you've got it on a flash. Oh, did you laminate it? Oh, you did. How'd you do? No? Is that laminated?
The way I did it is I went to Officeworks and I said, can I just buy, and I gave them the dimensions of just laminate. And they said, oh, no, we can't do that. And I said, oh, why not? And she said, well, I can't, I've got to laminate something. It's got to be something. And I said, well, can't you just laminate just some bit of white paper? She goes, no, I can't do that. I'm like, okay, but if I bring you something, you can laminate that, correct? She goes, yes. So I said, okay, can I buy some white paper with these dimensions? She goes, yeah, no worries. And then I said, can you laminate this? She goes, yeah, no worries.
It's actually a very good idea because mine's just sitting on some backing, so that's a good idea. Looks very flat, Pete. Looks really good. You did it really well.
It's a little bit deceiving. Don't look too close, but if you look really close,
hang on, I'm about to.
Yeah, it's not that great.
Oh, it looks all right. That's going straight to the pool room, Pete.
Sure is.
So, Sean, I reckon.
Yeah.
So, Sean, I reckon you should be doing a big lap too one day. You know,
I have done the lap, Harold. I have done the
but
lap.
not in a Tesla, not in a Tesla,
not in an EV. I did it in
a
Holden Ute towing a caravan when my wife was pregnant with my first child, and we went from Sydney, where we were living at the time, round to Brisbane, but the long way.
Oh, so you didn't actually do the whole lap? You had a little segment missing.
We did that little segment.
You missed out on
twice.
1,000 kilometres.
We did that segment twice a couple of weeks before taking stuff back home. So, yeah, we sort of did.
There's actually another gentleman doing the big lap as we speak. I think he should be. He was at Richmond.
Is that Neil Bolton?
Sure is. Yeah. So, yeah, he said he got inspired by Harold and my shenanigans and decided to have a crack himself. And he's been making some great time. I think he's on day 15 or day 16 now. And he's made it, he started in Canberra. He's gone all the way around and he's in Richmond, Queensland now. So he'll probably be home in a day or 2 or 3.
But there's so much good stuff to see. Take a bit longer. I loved Western Australia, by the way. It was the only time I've ever been there.
Yeah, the only thing is I would just wish we, like, going from Townsville all the way, or Gympie all the way past Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, Adelaide, all there where the superchargers are, that was over 3,000 kilometres. And I did that in 2 days and 2 hours. It was an absolute breeze. It was just so much fun, so easy. It was, 3.5, 4 hours of driving, 15 minutes of charging, 3 hours of driving. It was great. But doing that from Geraldton all the way to Townsville, that's 6,500 kilometres without a charger, even though we had our own charger in the car, which halved the charging time, it was still 3 hours of driving, 3.5 hours of driving, 3 hours of charging. So, and Neil doesn't have one of those, so he's doing sort of 3 to 4 hours to 5 hours of driving versus 6 hours of charging.
Neil's last tweet was going through Richmond, but I believe I was talking to Rob Dean earlier, and he was saying that he he was at Charters Towers this afternoon, and so I presume he was either going to stay at. I think he might have been staying at Charters Towers overnight.
That's what I thought.
But he's getting there. He is getting there.
So he's probably staying. I wonder if he's staying at the Oval, because I know they lock that. The council locks it at night. So, yeah. No, it's actually got caravans on it. Didn't you go to Charters Towers, Pete? I did, yeah. I charged it. Charters Towers, yep. Yeah, they have. It's an overflow for caravans. Oh, so there must be caravans already. Okay, when I was there was nothing there. So, and I was very lucky in that I rang about 4:45, and one of the women from the council was very nice, and she came down, opened it for me, and I only needed to put in like 20 minutes, 25 minutes worth. But yeah, she just stayed there until I charged and then locked up after me. So. All right. Wow. Cool. Very nice of them. Welcome, Carmen. You're in Perth by the look of it.
I'm really happy to be home.
Welcome right. Home, cool.
Hello. I missed you guys. It was the wrong time to call you in the middle of the day while I was touring.
I saw that I actually noticed, I got an email saying that you joined us at about midnight our time and we'd already gone to bed, unfortunately.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, cool.
Welcome back, Carmen. We're starting to worry about you.
Yes. No, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. So I had 3 months.
Wicked.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Having fun, hey?
But I'm actually happy to be home. I got sick of packing and unpacking and hotel rooms.
Oh, that's very hard work, Carmen. Yeah. I feel for you.
Try and do it after 2.5 years of it, Carmen. Then tell me about it.
Oh no, I'm not at that stage.
or try 6 years of it in my case.
Really?
All right.
Did you?
But that was about 30 years ago. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I really did enjoy it. It was some big experience for me. Lots of new things. And I went to lots of places. I think because of the ship tours, I did a ocean cruise and a river cruise. I think I went to 27 different cities.
Wow.
So I got in as much as possible, and it was very good. Different attitude in Europe. I came back and I couldn't believe that you had to wear a mask at the dentist.
Oh, what, here? Oh, yes,
Yeah.
because it's a medical practice. Yeah, that's right.
I know, but you're going
Yep.
to
Be
have
hard
them
to
out.
work on your teeth while you're wearing the mask, though.
That's right. So it's all really useless. And I went on ships, trains, buses, trams, and there was no issue. There was no talk of COVID. There was no issue with masks apart from early on in July, they did wear on public transport, but it was all gone by September. And I did have to go to a lab and have a COVID test before boarding the ships. But other than that, there's no talk about it anywhere. And we were packed like sardines in metros and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, even now in Australia, I think this is true that COVID is no longer notifiable as a disease. I think.
Well, it isn't.
And there's no mandatory isolation anymore. It's optional isolation. You self-isolate
Yeah.
because you want to, or because you're sick, basically.
Yeah, you take
But,
responsibility for your health, just like if it was due to anything else. I think I heard on some sort of evidence that deaths to COVID in Australia was number 34 or 35. So that was a medical statistic. But it seems that we still have emergency powers in place.
Oh no, very little now. I forgot the powers are now, but they're very slight.
Are
I think it's got to do with medical, like retirement nursing homes and a few locations, but they're not mandating other things anymore. So, like quarantine and whatever. So
yeah, well, that's good.
But anyway,
yeah.
But yeah, it was great that you're back. No issues with the airplanes because a lot of airlines have been a bit rusty on moving people and luggage and stuff. Sometimes you'll catch the plane and your luggage won't.
Excuse me. Having said that,
look, what was that you're saying about mask wearing and stuff?
no, I haven't had a day off. I was very lucky. I had no dramas whatsoever. All luggage went with me. The only problem was over luggage, and I had to send some home halfway through because the little planes, Emirates is fine with 30 kilos, but then I went on to side trips with Iberia and Ryanair, and they only allowed 20. And so that was a little bit of an issue. So I had relatives, so I left some in people's places, and I did send the cruising gear home, and it arrived before me. So there was no issue whatsoever. I went to lots of countries, Spain, Portugal, Amsterdam, a whole heap of 15 different German cities, Budapest, Ireland.
Alan, which place had the most amount of Teslas or EVs?
I have to say I didn't see loads. And the main comment from people was, well, what's the point? Even if the service stations have charges, how can you cope, particularly in places like Spain, where there is a huge population? How can you cope with charging everybody at the same time?
And you know what? And people say that in Australia as well, but it's a bit nonsense because look at Norway. 95% of their new cars sold are electric or hybrids, plug-in hybrids, sorry. They don't count non-plug-in hybrids in that 95%, and they're doing just fine. So, and their grid is very comparable to ours. It's not
it?
great. You know, neither is ours, but it's, you know,
Good.
yeah. So, I mean, and they're at 95% of new cars sold. So they can do it. I'm sure the rest of the world can.
I reckon
It's
there
a
was 20
transition.
people lined up at the bows yesterday for fuel.
Yeah.
So no better for those that you get the high price days and the low price days, and the queue is enormous. They're not of it either.
Yes.
And the thing too is, 120 years ago, there were no petrol stations, there were no petrol tankers. Like there was none of that infrastructure because people just adjusted their horse on a paddock to fuel it up.
I remember.
So, you know, so in those, in the last 120 years, we've gone from nothing to fully integrated. Well, EVs, it's just another transition. It's just something else that needs to be done.
Yes.
Except
Yes.
most places have wires, and yeah, you know, everyone's electricity use will go up 40%, but you don't have to charge everything at the same time.
No,
because you do it overnight, and
I think
you know,
the main issue is that I asked about was in Spain, where most of my relatives are. The trouble is they're mostly apartments and they're not geared for it. They don't have
yes,
they don't have solar panels and they don't have chargers. And if they did have chargers, you would have to, I mean, even in Australia, I asked Simon how he was going at work, and they've got one charger in his office, but there are 4 electrical vehicles. So you actually have to book charging time.
Yep.
Yeah, but all that will change with time. So I was speaking to a lady who's from Norway, and she said, you go to a shopping centre, it's got 4 levels of parking, and on 3 of those levels, every single parking spot has a charger for that spot. So it's not like you go somewhere there's one charger and 20 cars.
Yes.
It's the other way around. There's, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know, 400 chargers and 300 cars. So
Yes, it becomes standard because the cost for a charger is not that hard to have in shopping centers. So
No.
it's just, but I'd say that the most I did see quite a lot of EVs and chargers. The most probably in Germany, but yeah, no, people seem to mainly have the query of the charging. They could see the benefits.
Which parts of Germany did you go to, Carmen? North or south?
Cologne, Koblenz, Wittenberg, Würzburg, Rothenburg, Bamberg, Nuremberg, Passau. It's all south because I went on the cruise on the Rhine and the Danube.
Did you go to the Rhine Falls? Did you go to that? That's round sort of Cologne area, where you got the falls on the Rhine. There's like
No, I didn't see them. No.
how far did you get along the Danube, Carmen?
To Budapest. So it went from Amsterdam to Budapest.
Oh,
and
so
stopped
you would have gone
daily.
through. You would have gone through Bratislava, Slovakia.
Yes.
Yeah, just before Budapest. Yeah.
It was gorgeous. Gorgeous. And Vienna was amazing. I
Yeah,
saw
no,
quite a few cars in Vienna as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to Vienna. We're going about the 3rd.
Oh,
That again? You froze.
You froze.
Oh, I did too.
Oh, he's back. You're back.
We can hear.
While there's a gap, I'm going to have to say good night. But I want to thank you all very
Good night.
much, and we'll talk again.
Good night, Sean.
But
Nice to
thank
meet
you. I've only got a few hours to sleep.
Fair enough.
But thanks very much.
See you later.
See you again. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harold's probably dialing back in. So yeah, so how long was that trip along the Danube? Was that a couple of weeks or?
Yes, it was 15 days.
Yeah, nice.
And we docked every morning and had a local tour of the city or country, and got back on board by between 5 and 6, and then traveled during the night to the next spot.
Yeah, right.
It's very good. I went to Slovenia for a couple of days from Budapest. That was interesting. Yeah, everything is so close. You want to go.
Slovakia, not Slovenia.
Sorry. Yeah, no, Slovakia, but I also went to Slovenia. To
not on the Danube, would have.
No, that was separate. While I was in
Right.
Budapest, I took a bus from Budapest. It was 6
fair enough.
hours.
Yeah,
6 hours there. I stayed the night and came back the next day to Budapest.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I went to see Melania Trump's hometown.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Where was she born? Which town?
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. It's already a distant memory. I'll
Sorry,
think
just
about-
while you're thinking, I'm just going to
Yes.
say good night, but I have had a thought. I think I've solved the country driving issue. This is my idea.
Yes, yes.
Just going to figure out the right place to put on your bonnet.
So Pete and I had this thing too, is we were going to get like a tennis racket or something like that with the 110 sign, and you just wave it out your driver's window in front of the camera. Yes, absolutely. That is very good, James.
I like that,
great.
James. You should send that to Tesla. I like your patent pending there. As well.
Very
See
good.
you guys.
Awesome. Good night,
We'll sell
James.
millions of them.
Apologies before I went offline again. My OBS, which is the main video thing, just crashed and my computer half crashed.
Oh.
But anyway, I could hear you the whole time, but yeah, it's still recording, thankfully. But anyway,
Oh,
but
that's
yes, that's awesome, Carmen. That's yeah,
Yes.
and
So when are you going?
it's the first. It's around about the 13th of December, I think, if that's a
Okay.
Sunday. Let me
Oh,
just check
going to
that. I
be
think.
cold.
Yeah, it's going to be cold. Absolutely.
13th is a Tuesday.
Sorry,
I
it
think.
must be the 11th of December.
Yeah.
It's a Sunday, and we're going for a month. So we're going to go to the Christmas markets in Vienna, and also in Prague.
Oh, they're
in
very
fact, I think-
famous. Yes.
Oh yes, yeah, and we're actually got where we're staying in the hotel. There's like a main avenue, and there's a market each end.
Oh, yes.
And our hotel is right in the middle, and we're going to hire a car and drive around and all that sort of stuff. So it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Where's that, Harold?
In Prague.
Yeah, Prague. Nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you'll love it.
And then we're doing a bit of a rally bash. I'm going to meet a couple of cousins I've never met, and go to Salzburg and a couple other places, and then just relax
Yeah.
and chill out, literally.
Oh,
It's-
you'll be able to go to concerts.
We
They
spent
have
about
amazing concerts. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, hang on, sorry, Pete. Hang on. Sorry, Carmen, what was that you just said? Sorry, you were just
Oh,
clashing
you'll
then.
be able to go to some fantastic classical concerts in Prague. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Charles
Yeah.
Bridge, they're all in costume already, selling tickets.
Yes.
And Christmas decorations are out.
Oh,
Yeah, I
geez.
bet. Yeah, I bet. So, Pete, you're going to say?
Oh, no, it's just not relevant, but yeah, I was going to say we spent about 9 months, only about 100 kilometres north of Salzburg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's in
Beautiful.
in Germany?
Uh,
Or still in Austria?
Salzburg in Austria. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Pretty much near the border. We were there in 1985, and it was, or 1984, and it was one of the coldest winters in Europe for like 20 years. So we woke up one morning and we couldn't open the front door because there was like a foot of snow in front of it. So we had to jump out the window to to shovel the snow out of the way to be able to open the front door.
So you would have been up around about here somewhere.
Actually, type in a village. It's called Bad Kreuzen.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
You know Bad Kreuzen? It's a tiny little village.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's it.
I think I've been there because we've driven all over the place. That's actually, it's really between Linz and Vienna. That rings a huge bell, Pete. That rings a massive bell. So I think I've been there.
Yeah, right. Our paths may have crossed before, Harold.
Oh well, this is in decades later. I'd have to have a little look at my photos on the map, but anyway, we'll do our slide. We'll do a slideshow another time, Pete. But yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, no, it's great to have you back, Carmen. And yeah, like I said, I can't wait to go there. Although, of course, it might be a lot colder than we think because there might be gas restrictions and power restrictions and God knows what by then. But anyway.
Yeah, that is the only news that you get daily is the energy crisis and the war. They don't mention much else, really.
Yeah, which is a bit of a shame. But
have they got the ABC over there as well? Have they?
Yeah. Well, I think it was on BBC News.
Yes. Yeah. I reckon, I've been near Krems and stuff, Pete. But yeah, I think I've definitely been to Bad Kreuzen because that rings a big bell.
Yes.
Big bell.
Yeah. Yes.
But anyway.
Pete, it was Ljubljana where I went.
Oh, Ljubljana.
She was actually, and that's a pretty little place.
Yeah.
But
I think that's where she grew up.
She grew up, but she
was born in
Mesto, somewhere.
Yeah.
In a little town called Mesto something, yeah.
Nove Mesto, which means new town in Slovenian, yeah.
But it was, all these places were fabulous. So I fitted in as much as possible, but then got tired out. And I stayed, so I went to rest in Algarve, Portugal, because after Ireland, it got cold and wet. We had a road trip. I met my sister there and we did a road trip for 2 weeks from north south, all the way from Belfast down to Cork. And it was getting chilly. So I went to warm up in Vila Moura in Algarve in South Portugal. And that was fantastic, 25 to 27 every day. So I saw lots of little towns there and I'd like to go back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not
absolutely.
immediately.
One video I forgot to put up earlier, I thought this was really interesting, was that a lot of car manufacturers have been getting criticism for, making their EVs like petrol cars, so they fill in the bonnet. Under the bonnet, it's just a whole cacophony of stuff, right? So there's no frunk and whatever. And
I think I saw this video.
Yeah.
Is this the one where he says, I've got 3 weeks?
Oh, yeah. Well, how about we just watch it? We can watch it together. But I'll make sure the sound is on, and it's just trippy. 2 seconds. I'm just going to play it.
To the front. The front. Now, a lot of electric cars often have a front boot, like Teslas have them, a lot of the Korean manufacturers have them. What is it with the Germans, like BMW, Volkswagen Group, and yourselves, you don't make use of a front boot? There's no internal combustion engine under there. Why don't you, in Germany, like a front boot? In fact, on this, you can't even open it, can you? The customer doesn't open this, do they?
No, they can't.
What's a secret underneath here?
There's no special secret, So first of all, you have a four-wheel drive. So if you have a four-wheel drive, then there's an electrical motor. And then in addition to that, you are getting optional here the HEPA filter. And this is also using space in there, Okay. Because of that, from our point of view, the space in the back is enough and it's good.
Okay, 3 words for you. Tesla Model Y have all the things that you've just said, yet they have a front boot. Just saying.
But they do not have a HEPA filter, you know, with the
Don't they?
performance that we have.
Oh, they did.
They have a filter, but not with the performance that we have.
Which means you can't have a front boot. Which would you rather have? I think I'd probably go with the front boot. To the front. Now, a lot of electric cars often have a front boot, you know, like Teslas have them.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, and how is it you can't even open the bonnet? So what if a policeman pulls you over and goes, hello, open the bonnet, would you? Because I want to look inside, and you go, I can't. It's like,
And he wouldn't believe you.
no.
Yeah.
They got that little slide out panel to you pour your water into the for the windscreen washers.
Good point.
I actually wondered whether they might be in the back.
No, if it's like the EQS, there's a little panel on the front quarter. You push it, and little drainage thing, so you pour your water in.
Right. Because whatever's
why would you want to fill it in some sort of, you know, logistical manner where you can actually pour a litre in quite quickly?
So you mean somewhere here there's a panel?
No, on the the EQS, it's on the quarters, the front quarter.
Yep.
But why couldn't you open it? It seems ridiculous. Surely there'd be maintenance of some sort, and it must be highly secret if you're not allowed to look at it.
I wonder how they actually do open. I mean, maybe they have maybe they've got to put the car in service
They
mode.
do
and then-
open, Harold, but I think only the dealer can open it, apparently. I watched a video on it a while back.
Yeah, it's just, isn't that interesting? I mean,
Because
culturally, we're just...
They don't want to have the Merc next to the Model Y, and the Model Y opens its trunk, and there's all this space, and the Merc is, you know, we shouldn't be playing out on them, because at least they're making an electric car. So
A front
good on them for that. Be it frontless or not, doesn't matter. You know.
Well, what are they trying to hide?
Yeah, not much. But speaking of, because he said that their HEPA filter, yes, they do have one, he acknowledged, but not as good as ours. Well, first of all, the Model Y's got bioweapon defense mode as well. But let me share this video, which I think we've shared here before.
I'm pretty sure heifer is heifer, isn't it?
Yes, high efficiency particulate something. That's what
we
the
just put in
actual...
the second vehicle.
Exactly.
We're reblowing up the bubble,
But,
and we're preparing to do.
yeah,
a
remember this
comparison
video?
test side by side.
Yes.
Normally, air pollution, you can't really see it. You
I'll
can't really see how
fast
bad it
forward
is.
it, so-
we're trying to use this to demonstrate. The cabin is staying nice and clean, even though the outside world is.
So that's pretty cool.
Quite a hostile environment.
And the scary thing is, all of that stuff, whatever it is, particulate,
This
is
filter
going to go
is
into the HEPA filter.
99.97% effective, or better, against particles of any size.
That's a big difference.
Like no particulate in the car?
Because it'll actually clean
No
it.
particulate in the car.
Zero red smoke in the car.
No red. The car is clean.
Immediately you
And
can
I
see
think
a
he
lot
pulls
of,
it out
a lot
now,
of dust
doesn't he,
here
and shows you
on
how
the
it is.
inlet side of the
Yeah.
filter, and then on the back side over here you see nothing, which is good. Going to lift this up and we'll see the carbon filter, which is probably also going to be quite red from capturing all that smoke.
There we go.
There we go. And then I'll pull this filter off and we'll... You can even see it on the back side of the filter here, so it definitely caught a lot of this dust and filtered it out so that it's not getting into the cabin and into your lungs.
HEPA stands for High Efficiency Particulate Air Filter. The great thing about a HEPA filter is how well it filters out very, very fine particles, like PM 2.5 and even smaller. And those are very bad because they can be small enough that they get into your lungs and stay in your body.
Over 4 million people die per year based upon exposure to bad air quality. And the World Health Organization says that over 90% of people live in environments that have
So that's
bad air
actually
quality.
on
With wildfires
But
happening
it's on a
worldwide,
Model Y.
it's really important to be able to provide clean air to everybody. So that's why we have a HEPA filter in our vehicles.
Awesome.
There you go. Yeah. And so Mercedes, yes, he was never going to win that argument.
But what's happened to the share price, Harold?
Oh, I don't know. Today,
It was
today?
219 about 20 minutes ago.
It's doubled in value,
Oh,
Carmen.
222. It's Richie's favourite number, 222. Yeah,
Well,
well, you know,
Yes.
Company for
shares
half
go up
the
and
price.
down.
Well, you get the same company for half the price, so you're getting double the value.
You got to play the long game. You got to play the long game, Carmen.
Yes, I know.
I want to play that disclaimer, but Harold, play it.
The
again.
following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
So I can probably say this, it's pretty late in the night, so it's only the big boys and big girls that are still up.
Pete's hot tips.
No, it's not a hot tip.
Buy now. Buy now.
Seriously, I'd be very surprised if there was another better time to buy Tesla again after, you know, tomorrow morning may, you know, the stock could go down 20% because we've got the earnings call. So the earnings coming out. I actually doubt it. I think they'll surprise on the upside. But whatever the outcome is tomorrow, who cares? I very much doubt that we'll get another opportunity. Could be completely wrong. It's not advice. But I put my mouth where my money is, or my money where my mouth is. And yeah, I did buy some more. Took another
Well,
position.
certainly, we have to get the average down. So I think I might have to.
Well, you might not get much of a chance. So it's so if you wanted to buy before the earnings, you'd have to do it tonight because they come out at 4:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, or a little bit after. The market closes at 4:30, and usually the results come out about 10 minutes later, and then the call is about an hour later.
But it's not going to go up in a huge rush, is it?
You don't know.
No.
Don't know.
But it won't be hundreds.
No. Tesla
not?
traditionally has revalued itself at the latter part of the calendar year, like from now to January, because all the analysts have been working on old numbers for their price to earnings multiples. And then they have to eventually accept that as the earnings go up, well, the multiple goes down, and you either just accept that, or you start going, well, it's looking a bit too cheap, and we have to just raise the price. And they all do it, what do you call it, reluctantly, but they can't defy gravity, or whatever you want to call the opposite of gravity. So
Rob Mao had a very good comparison. So he said that the forward earnings of, no, not the forward earnings, the annualized
Chipotle.
Q3 of Chipotle were,
Chipotle.
Chipotle valued them at 57 times, I think it was Q3 annualized earnings versus Tesla at 50 times. I mean, if that doesn't sum it up, nothing will. I mean, and, you know, Chipotle are way, way further down their expansion plans or their growth curve, if you like. Tesla's still relatively, you know, at its beginning. And, you know, the addressable markets, I mean, there was a very good, I meant to do a video on it. Elon, during AI Day, this was very late into the show, he was asked a question and he said, transport accounts for about $10 trillion globally. The world economy is about $100 trillion. And he thinks autonomous driving will it will increase productivity by half to one order of magnitude. So, I mean, that's huge in itself. But then he said, when it comes to Optimus or the Tesla bot, he's thinking one, possibly two orders of magnitude in terms of the economy as a whole. I mean, these are just, and like no one took any notice of it because, you know, why would you? Because it's just, you can't even fathom some of these numbers. But, you know, 2 orders of magnitude is 100 times $100 trillion. So, I mean, you know, so the average, if you were to take the GDP of Australia and divide it by our population, you know, you probably get about, I don't know, 70, 80,000, you know, GDP per capita. So, you know, now increased, so 80,000 per person. Now, and you're at, what, 8 million or something? You know, it's just, yeah, incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Just some of the simple things like this is James Stevenson, and this is his quarterly revenue in millions from inception to date. And this is of Tesla. And, you know, the last 2 quarters have made almost the same as the first 3 quarters of 2021. You know, and Q3 is probably going to take Tesla to the end of, like, in 3 quarters, it's going to have made as much revenue as all of last year. And you just look at this growth, it's just exponential.
And if you have a look at last year, the first, you know, 2 halves of last year did more than the first 3 quarters of the year before. So the reason, so we're actually a little bit behind this year. That's because of the shutdowns in China and
Q2, yep.
Yeah, and retooling and, you know, all the rest. But it means that it set us, you know, it set Tesla up really well for the next couple of years to come. So
this is another good one. This graph here, which actually shows projected deliveries. Production and deliveries. And, you know, we are, well, this is known Q2, and this is Q3. This is known figures, but they're just going up and up and up, you know.
Yep.
And as they make more and more cars, that's almost a doubling by the end of 2023. Their profit doesn't just double; it goes up much more than that.
So you can see that chart. That chart perfectly illustrates why, you know, you can see how huge 2023 is going to be for Tesla.
Well, in Perth, you've only got to look at the number of Ys you see now. There's only the one delivery, hasn't there? And it's been astronomical everywhere. You can't go anywhere without seeing Model Y.
Yes.
I think you see as many Ys as you do 3s, or might be more.
Yes.
And in Germany, so this is not, you know, month-on-month figures, but the whole of last 12 months, their best-selling car was the Golf? Some VW car, must have been the Golf. And I think they sold 1.1 million units. Globally, not in Germany, globally. 1.1 million units. Model Ys were about 900,000. Next year, they're going to be about 1.3 million. And if you have a look in Germany, or electric vehicle sales, so Model Ys went up 48% last year, and VW's what have they got? I can't even remember what their electric model is, but that went down 40%. So the Model Y is basically just replacing the best-selling electric car in that market now that it's entered that market. So, you know, you can just see globally it's on track to be the best-selling car globally by Christmas next year.
What's the Y selling for at the moment?
The average selling price globally, I think, is $70,000 US. I think it's about 62,000 where it starts, but the average between the models is about 70,000 US. Sorry, no, it wasn't the VW, it was the Toyota Corolla. So the Toyota Corolla at the moment is the best-selling car globally at 1.1 million, and Model Y was 900,000, and next year will be 1.3 million. So
Something that's going to affect the share price. This is another graph by James Stevenson. Is earnings before interest, taxation, depreciation, amortization by quarter, and at the moment these are actuals for Q2. So let's call that roughly $4 billion. Now just look out to say Q4 2025. So that's only 1, 2, 3 years away, and we're going from 4 billion to over 40 billion. So that's 10 times earnings, and that's basically profit in 3 years. Going to go from 4 billion every quarter to 40 billion. This is a projection, of course, but you know.
And the thing is that projection hasn't changed, but the share price has halved in the last few months. So now you get all that at half the price.
So if you just say, well, if we just accept that whatever, let's call it $200 today at 4 billion a quarter, well, sheer maths, logic just says, if you 10 times that profit, well, you kind of need to 10 times the shares to keep everything the same.
You could have
or discount it 5 times it.
Yeah, that's assuming the multiple stays the same, the earnings multiple. But and that's been getting compressed in the last few months because high growth stocks have been out of favour. But that's going to change at some point. That's only going to keep on going down. But and when you have comparisons like that, Chipotle versus Tesla comparison, that you just got to scratch your head and say, well, how much further is this compression got to go? I mean, you could argue, there's a saying in the stock market, you don't want to be catching knives, or trying to pick the bottom, or trying to pick the bottom leaves you with nothing more than a smelly finger. I don't know. I just think
definitely got room to go up.
It does.
Well,
it has. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is
and
this graph.
Do you think that Twitter will affect it?
No, not anymore.
New
Not
purchase?
really.
No.
Because once Elon, Elon has stated that he doesn't need to sell any more shares, but even if he does, it's only a few $1 billion worth of shares out of a.
The concern is servicing Twitter's debt with finding increasing negative earnings. So I think the interest bill is about $1.5 billion a year just on Twitter's debt. So, even that, call it $3 billion, still manageable for, the man himself, let alone all the other investors. So
this little plot is just showing how Tesla spends its revenue. So for all the money that it's earning, where it goes. And you can see where in Q2 2019, it had a very tiny little bit of profit. And, a little bit later, it had sort of virtually no profit. But to 2025, 36% of all its earnings, its revenue, which is sales basically, will be profit. That's non-GAAP earnings.
It's the operating.
Like that, and that's just from sales. That's all of sales, and it'll have its pile of money where it won't know what to do with, because that's including R&D, everything else, everything. Sales, general and administrative, stock compensation, the whole works, and they just won't know what to do with them. They'll just have a big pile of money. Bit like Apple, where Apple just keeps sitting on bigger and bigger piles of money.
And compare that with other legacy automakers where they can't even make $1.
No.
The difference is amazing.
Yeah, and a lot of them are going to fold.
Buyback. They're going to do a buyback.
Well, China's going to rule the world in cars. Tesla, but next will be China, which are already producing Teslas anyway. But
Tesla will be the Apple, and all the other companies in China will be all the other phone makers, all the Google phones. Because I mean, I don't think Apple has the majority of phone sales, but they
No,
make
actually,
the vast
Samsung
majority
have-
of profit. You know,
Actually, Rob Dean wrote a really good article based on the EV Council figures in the Driven. Not sure if you can pull it up, Harold.
yeah, I'm just getting it now.
Awesome. So if you take out the plug-in hybrids and you just focus on nothing but the EVs, Tesla accounted for about 65% of all EV sales in Australia, and the other 35% were spread across 57 other car makers, I think he said. So, I mean, and there's actually a good chart, I think, in that article as well, which just shows Tesla's dominance.
Oh no, that was
I don't think
sales.
No, I don't think that's it.
No, there's not. He hasn't got any other chart unless that's Rob's Driven article, Pete.
Oh, okay. Well, here I've got to see if I can find the
Oh
chart.
no, hang on. Sorry, got it here. There was a hyperlink. No, that's the same one. Oh, no, EV sales by territory. No. Oh, this one. That one, Pete.
That's the one. Yep. Yeah. Just click on the graphic and it should expand. But yeah, have a look there. So you can see those cars in the dark blue, they're PHEVs, they're plug-in hybrids.
Oh yes.
So
yep.
Yeah, so the third most popular EV was the Kona, and you compare that to the, and that chart, that's in what's the word? It starts at 0 and goes up, so it's not.
Yes, it's at the origin. Yes, so
Yeah.
if you stack up all of the light blue, all of these, it wouldn't even add up probably to the Model Y currently, and the Model Y's only been delivered for the last quarter and a half. In fact, I don't think there have been any deliveries this quarter yet. I don't think. So it's out of 1/4 of delivery, it's probably sold more than the sum of all the other EVs combined, and then Model 3.
It's just astonishing.
I mean, if you put this graph, the Model 3, on top of the Model Y, it would be sort of off the screen, off the chart, and then all the rest is just a rounding error.
Yeah.
But then why is it? Why is Tesla outselling everyone else?
Better car.
It's a cult. It's like Apple.
Well,
but Apple's a good product too. I mean, Apple is a cult as well, but I mean, there is cultish sort of stuff to it, but it's its own ecosystem, and the quality is beyond reproach. And Tesla's sort of a little bit similar, except they're not that much dearer than the rest. Whereas Apple is, Apple you spend bloody nearly $2,000 for a phone.
Yes. Well, now they've had. I think they've got to change all the USBs, don't they? All the
No,
plugins?
next year for the next
year?
model in Europe has to be USB-C.
Yeah.
But
rather than
if they
Lightning.
do it in Europe, Apple's not going to have a different charger for
No.
the other jurisdictions, so it will be worldwide.
Yeah.
And it's funny, there's actually a slight parallel because in America, of course, Tesla's charger inlet is Tesla's own design, whereas everywhere else in the world it's CCS either 1 or CCS 2. And Tesla needs to make a decision sometime of whether to harmonize with most of the world or not. So it's kind of almost a parallel that because Tesla were first to innovate, a bit like Apple, they've got non-standard connectors,
Proprietary.
sort of proprietary connectors. But yeah, I mean, Tesla is just doing what Apple has done several times, and
Yeah.
Tesla's going to keep. In fact, Tesla's going to be Apple squared or Apple cubed because Apple's revolutionized. Well, they didn't really revolutionize PCs. They just made them very reliable because they combated all of the clones that came out with ordinary PCs that made PCs very cheap but not as reliable because they weren't always interoperable. And they did the iPods, and then iPhones. Tesla's doing the cars and the Tesla bot and solar and battery storage and all of the other stuff.
Yes.
And it's safer. And it's in supply. They can supply them. You look at the Kona, well, there's barely any supply. Where's the Ionic? Ionic, they sell out in 5 minutes, every batch. Or the Ionic 5, sorry. Oh, yeah, I think the Ionic 5.
Yeah, the Ionic 5 and the EV6, they're only releasing them in batches about 100, 150 every couple of months.
But because they're hard, there's no... Yep.
Well, the first batch that came out was like 10 cars in WA. And all the newspapers were saying that they sold out day one. Well, if you only had 10 cars to sell, surprise, surprise. Yeah.
And the thing is, Tesla are still shipping cars to Australia for the Eastern Seaboard. They were ordered on day one and day two. And you could say that's taken 6 months. That will have taken 6 months to clear out their day one and day two orders. And that's just 2 days. Tesla just wins, hands down. It's just not fair.
There's no doubt about it. And everywhere the talk is that it will be all EVs eventually.
Yeah, well, the same thing happened. I mean, my father actually had a horse. He was born in 1927, and he remembers having to pay a full fare for himself and his horse, a separate fare ticket for his horse, to go across some ferry in Port Melbourne. So, people had horses, but they all went to cars. Yeah. Everyone's had an ICE car, and then we're all eventually going to have EVs. It's just what it is.
I wouldn't say eventually. I would say, a lot sooner than we think. So
yeah,
I think the global EV percentage of new car sales is around 12.5%. I think we're like, if you include plug-in hybrids in Australia, we're about 3.5%. New Zealand in January of 2021 was at 2%. By Christmas of last year, they were at 11%. So that's a 5-fold increase in 12 months. I mean, that's the sort of growth that we'll have to have this growth spurt sooner or later, because we'll have no choice. We no longer make the Falcons or the Commodores, so we have no choice but to buy what the rest of the world sells. And the rest of the world, everyone's going electric. Even Rolls-Royce has now got an electric car.
Well, Tesla had 26,500 cars in June in all of Australia. They've already delivered over 12,000 cars in Q3, and they're on track to delivering more than 12,000 cars this quarter, which means they've doubled their entire fleet in 6 months. And that fleet took 6 years to build up.
Yeah, took 6 years, and then it doubled in 6 months. Yeah.
And that's just this year.
Yeah, what took 6 years now, this year took 6 months. Yeah, incredible.
Just to hijack the discussion.
Go, Andrew.
Speaking of what your dad had when he was young, this is slightly before my time, but we're doing this rally next week, the marathon. And that was 1968 that it happened. And now they're redoing it, and we're the first electric car in that. We have to, you guys know, some of you know the mammoth effort we're going to do that, but it was a mammoth effort to get the cars through in 1968 in the first place. So it won't take 60 years.
Sorry, did you see any of that, Andrew? Because we saw a lot of those cars. I don't know if you would have.
No, it's a little bit before me.
Because I remember around Mittagong, I think the leading Citroen was hit by a spectator who was going along that road to look at cars, and they wrote that Citroen off. It was almost home.
Well, there's 8 of the 10 existing cars that competed are competing in this again.
Yeah.
As in the original
So,
cars themselves?
The
or the
original
model?
cars. No, the original cars.
Wow.
And there's
Wow.
even some either drivers or crew that are competing as well.
And that's
It was a
54
massive
years
event
ago.
at the time.
Didn't someone die in that accident? Did one of the
No, they didn't. I don't think they did.
Right.
But it made a mess of the car. And they used to change drivers at 80 mile an hour.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
They did. They did. They changed drivers at 80 mile an hour.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, but one of the what I've been doing tonight is finishing off the maps, and this is my this is the actual route that my truck is going to be going on.
Well, that'd
We're
be a
just-
massive job in itself.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, that's
So-
incredible.
Yeah, there's a few alternate routes here, so we're actually going
Mhm.
down the southern route here, more than likely, and then over here in Canberra or Lakes Entrance, Tacoma. There's two ways we can go, but everywhere else, that's effectively where the race car's going as well as that's where my truck's going.
So we're at Forks on the in WA. That's just an alternate route. So you can go either way. You just
Yeah, so this
Yeah.
this route here is actually via the marathon route, so we may have to wait until everyone's done because that's all gravel road. This is another way we can go via Cascade and Grass Patch to get around it. It'll
Yeah,
take
right.
longer, but it means we don't have to wait. So
But you get there sooner. Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
That'll be a
So-
fantastic trip, Andrew. I reckon that'd be brilliant.
yeah. It's been months of planning and a lot of hard work, mainly by John. But
Well, just to get your
Oh, it's a
car
whole
and your
team
truck
effort.
organised is incredible. I reckon.
yeah, yeah.
Is it 6 Ford vehicles that you've got going?
Well, there's two trucks.
The white?
The van,
Van.
with a secret weapon that got delivered yesterday and installed today.
Very
Um,
good. Very good.
So I can actually I might see if I can show a picture, a preview.
Very,
It's-
very good.
That's not doesn't show much because we don't want to give too much away.
Bearing in mind this is going to YouTube, so we could pause
Yeah,
if you want.
yeah.
No, that's
No.
okay.
Oops.
Aha.
It's a nondescript box with packaging around it.
Yes, it is. But we can already tell with the spiral thingy around.
Those in the know.
Yes.
It's a disengaged cable. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think these disengage.
No.
Yeah.
No, they're permanently connected. That's awesome, and that's arrived just in the nick of time
No,
because John
no.
feared that it would be a bit
Yeah.
late.
Yeah.
No, I said it's a decent gauge.
Decent
cable.
gauge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
decent
yeah.
gauge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's yeah.
So that's going to go in the van, isn't it? I presume.
Yeah.
Because that's what
Yeah.
it's for.
So yeah, sorry. There's the two trucks and the van that are official charging vehicles. The Model Y, I think, is an official vehicle, but that's just a support vehicle. And then there's another, a full drive towing a trailer that's kind of our recovery / backup charger.
So 5 cars and a trailer.
Yeah.
It's a massive project.
And another trailer that's being dropped off in the middle of this area
yes.
here, up in the middle of it's a place called Blinman, in the middle of South Australia.
And that gentleman's doing that entire trip just to do that.
Just to drop off the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome effort. It's going to be a hell of an adventure, and something for the history books. It'll go down in history as an achievement that in 50 years' time, when all of us in the room are dead, or very much mummified, or both, they may reproduce that in an old Model 3 Tesla.
Maybe the same one.
Maybe they take off the green thing or whatever it's called now, the Toshiba amplifier.
Blue Lightning or Blue Thunder. We haven't actually
Blue
settled
Thunder
on a proper name.
That was a good
Blue
movie
Seal.
back in 1982.
Well, I hope we have a movie night of this because John's getting it all videoed, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yes.
we've got a guy coming over from Sydney who's a professional videographer and drone pilot.
That'd be fantastic to see.
So his only job in the whole trip is to get media prepared and make a package at the end.
Oh, I
and
think
do
that's
post. Yeah.
This is part of John's foresight, isn't it? He's brilliant at that. He really reads the game and is ahead of it at times.
Mm. It was funny
Yeah.
this time last year talking about doing it, and it was like, you know, they've asked us to be involved. And we're like, well, I don't know. It's big. So
Well, he's risen to the occasion, hasn't he? It's incredible what he's done and organised, and
yeah,
he's really planned it. He's thought about every aspect.
he has. He's definitely a planner and
But that's where
and
you
thinks,
guys
thinks
come in as
outside the
well.
box. Yeah.
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 I've
So
got-
you know,
I've
on
got
top of those 12, those 6 vehicles, there's 2 people per vehicle as a a mandatory safety thing. So there's 12 people plus the car itself. So
Yeah, I think it's unbelievable.
Huge effort. Huge effort.
Just
I'll
hope it
have
gets
to-
the recognition it deserves. That's the big thing.
Well, hopefully it will, and there'll be plenty. I mean, they'll be able to do live crosses and all that sort of stuff too, if anyone's interested in doing that. As far as the media, I've got to go to John's and set this thing up for him because I've promised to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
So,
great. Yes.
that'll work with a couple hundred megabits per second.
Yeah.
Will you go with that
and-
level
and-
of sophistication in John?
Oh no, yes, I actually promised John. I've actually still got
Bring-
this
bring the
exact
foam and
heritage.
everything.
Oh, that's
I've got
good.
the exact heritage foam.
That's well
So-
travelled.
And it's been well travelled. It's already done 14,000 kilometres, so it might as well do another
So it's
10,000
proven.
Ks.
And I
So
heard a
it's
little birdie.
proven.
I heard a little birdie might have offered and given another version of Starlink for me. So
Oh, that'd be
that-
fabulous.
that person is a very nice person.
Well, it
and
keeps
it's
you in
very
the
much
loop.
appreciated.
That's important.
Mm.
Oh, I think that's
Absolutely.
yeah. I just hope
Yeah.
this gets across the media because it'll be a fabulous story.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
pretty
it
sure it will. I mean, Ampol being the sponsor, they're going to push it pretty hard out there.
Well, if they're on board, that should be a real reason for it.
Mm. Yeah, they're using it as a bit of a flagship thing. There's a bunch of events in Sydney that they want the car for, and showcasing what we've done. They're even talking to us about the charging units themselves and how they can leverage that, technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And there's every reason why they should.
Mm.
It's a great thing that John's done, and the whole team is continuing to do. I mean, it's not finished yet. It's barely started, or not even started. But it's a huge effort on so many people, and all of those busy bees and worker bees and all that sort of stuff. All the weekends that have been spent, the nights that have been spent, still being spent, all the
Yeah, but
midnight oil that's been burned.
The team itself is the backbone of the whole operation, and a lot of people don't know what goes behind this project. It's massive.
Well, I mean, we've got people. There's a bunch of us that are in Perth, but there's there's one guy that lives in Margaret River. There's one guy that lives in Harvey. We're flying a person over from Sydney to be a part of it. Jürgen's brother is actually flying over from Adelaide to be a part of it. So we've got people coming from literally all over the country to be a part of it. And
I think there's a guy from Esperance or Hopetown that's involved as well, isn't there?
well, that's where the battery's coming from.
Yeah, because
The trailer.
I met him at the charger in Lake Grace. Yeah.
Yeah. So that the trailer that's being dropped off is a Model 3 battery. It's got a EV charger plugged into it, and it's being used for this. And then at the end of it, it's going to go back to his property and take him off grid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mm.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Cool. Well, that's you're leaving Friday week.
Well,
No.
the
Yes.
rally starts next Friday. So 9 days from now. But we leave the 2 trucks set off next Thursday morning.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, good luck.
Myling, right?
Sorry.
And then you're spending the night in Myling.
Yes. Yeah. So we're truck 1's going to Myling and truck 2 is going to Beacon or somewhere out that way. So.
You guys will be flat
Fantastic.
strap all the way.
Sorry.
You guys will be flat strap all the way, I reckon, won't you?
Well, yeah. I think in total, it's for me, it's about 5,200 kilometers. Just bringing up there.
And you have to do that in a petrol car that you've got to drive.
Yeah, manual,
for
no
you.
cruise control.
No autopilot. I feel for you, Andrew.
Not even Bluetooth.
The horror.
I know. I have to
Let's
listen
get a boombox, mate, or something.
AM
or
radio. Yeah.
Just get earbuds. You'll be right.
Well, two of the days are close to 800 kilometers for the race car.
Yep.
Wow.
So, we all know how long it takes to do 800 cars. Harold and Pete, you obviously do more than most, but doing that off road as well.
Yes, that's right.
With mobile chargers is a challenge.
Going to be draining.
Yeah, but at least you don't have to. They won't have to charge on 11 kilowatts, Andrew.
If plan A, B, and C fail, then 11 kilowatts is what we've got.
There'll be no human factors at certain charging spots. It's like, I can't be bothered charging it right now.
No.
But it's going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Cool. Alrighty. Well, we might not see you next week because you'll probably be getting ready to get up early. But
it'll be good. No, definitely probably won't be next week.
Well, all the best anyway, Andrew. It'll be fabulous for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll definitely give it a mention next week. I'll set a reminder to mention it. And I'll see John in the meantime anyway. And we'll try and get just some materials or something to put up on the screen so that there's links to stuff and socials and whatever. So
that'd be awesome.
Fantastic.
It's surprising how many people watch this. So that'll get the word across as well. Because, there's people from Queensland, New South Wales, Tasmania that watch this.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's gonna be awesome, and we're gonna love watching it through Twitter and through the socials and following day by day. So it's gonna be fantastic.
Yes. There's going to be a social media person that's responsible for all that.
No,
so
that's fantastic.
It'll be not live tweeting, but at least daily, if not multiple times a day.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Alrighty, well that's a bit of a treat for everyone that made it to the end of this show, or they just sort of scanned through halfway and got right to the end, the best bits, and that certainly is the best bit. So Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this?
So always stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
The best way to do that is buy a Tesla and drive it across Australia. Join TOCWA and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy.
And making the future awesome.
Indeed.
He's going to change sooner or later.
Good luck.
Have a great trip, Andrew, next week.
Good on you, mate.
Cheers. Yeah, thanks.
And good luck to the whole team. And everyone else, look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday on Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone, and take care.
See you all.
Good night.